Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Ambers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
A very good afternoon to you as we welcome you on into the Sports Bar, Rochester's only local sports talk show, Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us and listening along at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app, our home online, your smart device when you ask it to play, 95.7 The Fan. We've even got our video stream up and rolling for you on our YouTube channel. You can like, subscribe, hit that little bell icon so you always get notified when we go live on YouTube and on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. I'm Danger, that's Battaglia.
This little...
Right, flip the sign. One day since the last incident. Okay.
Very good.
Sorry.
That's fine.
You know, it'd be nice, not to go on a rant, it'd be nice if you had your own little control over there where you could push the button to turn your microphone on and I didn't have to do it for you all the time. But I digress.
Right, yeah. Normally you turn on your own mic. Maybe that's the thing. I just like, turn on my microphone.
If I have to cough, I can
do this and I can,
I can control that. You, on the other hand, don't have that ability.
It was on one of your assignments that we had Dan Fates on. And you know me, I drink a lot of water, and then water went down the wrong pipe. There's no off switch here. There's no cough button. So literally, it must have sounded terrible on the air. I'm hacking up a lung.
It's fantastic.
He's
it's great
laugh.
radio.
Yeah.
It's what everybody wants.
Yeah.
We'll share all of our bodily functions with you here in the Sports Bar. We have no problem doing that. I'm sure you guys all enjoy it. We won't mute anything. Unfiltered.
I was going to make this suggestion, Danger, because we have this little broadcast unit called a Conrex. Now, I'm not the most technically savvy guy, but whenever we go out and we broadcast, say, St. John Fisher Athletics tonight, lacrosse game against RIT, we'll use this. Do you want me to set that up outside today? Because I feel like we should be outside doing.
I was wondering why you were a late comer into the studio today. I mean, you pushed it right up to the envelope. You were out going for a walk or something, weren't you?
I'm just getting all my stuff done because I got to get down to Fisher tonight at 7. Mm-hmm. So that's why. I knew
Great night for lacrosse.
Fantastic. Doesn't feel like March out there.
Can't beat it.
One for the dad run on the canal last night. I'm like,
good.
Yeah.
I got up this morning and did mine this morning with the sun rising, and it felt good. It felt good to not freeze on the dad run. It was good.
So, all right, is that it? Are you putting the man plow away at this point?
Oof. Yeah. This year is a little bit different for me, Gino. There's a lot happening at Chateau Dangereux. So my normal schedule is out of whack. I want to be able to tell you that the power washer is coming out soon, and then I'll hose off the garage floor, and we'll be ready to go in the Italian living room and watching games on the projector by the end of the month. But I can't make that promise. There's just too much going on.
There was one other little note here from today. I'm walking in, and I usually get here sometimes 8, sometimes 8:30. It was around 8:30 this morning, and I'm walking in and walking by 98.9 The Buzz, the studio. And your wife, Sandy, sometimes does the show from your home studio. Scotzo's doing there, Spazzano. And I'm walking by, and I just hear my name. Gene!
Oh, they pulled you in.
Yeah, and then I see the air light. I'm like, oh, my gosh, they want me to go on.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, okay, well, what am I walking into?
Wow, what preparation by those two to just pull you in, spur the moment, no plan. You have no idea what they're going to ask you.
Walking by, and apparently as I'm walking by, what's the topic? The topic is
brackets.
Yeah. And something, I don't know if you knew this about this, but let me tell you something about your daughter I learned today.
Tell me.
Company your daughter Leah is working for. This is not unlike any other.
I'm drinking from the Yeti cup of the company she works for. This is one of the tchotchkes they gave her at one of their retreats that she puts on. Yeah.
So add that to the board. Yeah. On-off switch tchotchkes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that would be kind of
fun.
Yeah, that would be fun.
The company she works for.
The company she works for is doing a March Madness bracket like
They are.
every other one.
We discussed this yesterday briefly because she texted me during the show, and you were just amazed that they didn't realize that we do a live show every day for 3 hours. They just text me with no fear of ramification. Hey, Dad, I know you're in the middle of talking about something on the air, but I need help with my bracket because I don't know. And I told her, you know about as much as I do.
Well, you know why your daughter's doing this, Danger? Let me tell you why she's doing this. Every other company I've ever heard of, or your friend group, or whatever it is, hey, it's a $5 buy-in, it's $10, a $20. I've seen it up to $50. I've been on. Well, the point being, there's a buy-in. Your daughter's company is making the payout. There is no buy-in. A cash prize will be paid by that company.
Right.
That can be done.
Is that illegal? It might be illegal. Who knows? Is that considered gambling? Is that not by federal standards? Is that something that shouldn't be done? It's not a big buyout or a big payout. It's like, I think it's 200, 100.
Yeah, so probably the tax man will be added in, I would think. But for what? NCAA? Is that how it comes up in the ledger? I think Scott puts it on. I'm like, why don't we do that? I'm like, well, we used to do that. It was like a gift certificate. Hey, you get a gift certificate to blah, blah, blah.
But you would still have to, would you still pay to be in the pool? No. Yes.
No.
No?
Originally it was pay in, and then we wanted to make it the whole company. So it couldn't be like an insider club. And then that just kind of faded away. So we're a sports radio station, folks, that does not
have an office bracket.
So then Scott was like, well, why don't we put one together? I'm like, I got tired of taking your money. And I walked away.
I would love to put one together if I had the time. Yeah, that is kind of, I think COVID killed it for us here locally.
Yeah.
When the pandemic hit and they canceled the tournament that one year, it never really regained its steam after that. Or did it? I can't remember. Because I won it one year and then you won it the second year. Like, we won it consecutive years.
Kyle Guy is my guy, hitting 3 free throws like that, giving me my money.
That was the year
after.
What year did you picked the year that Virginia won, right?
Right, which was the year after they became the first 16 to lose to a one.
Right, but you have one guy to really thank for your championship, your bracket championship.
Tony Bennett in
Gray
studio.
skies are gonna clear up, okay.
Coach,
Box somebody out. How you doing, everybody? Tony Bennett, okay.
Tony Bennett, coach, Virginia Cavaliers coach in studio with us. Coach, how you rebounding from last year and the disappointing
Last
loss?
year, we lost to a 16 seed. Well, I don't know who we lost to last year, but I know they were a fine group of young men with a lot of whites. Hey ho, way to go. I swear to God, if you don't hit your free throws, you're going to take a trip on a train. You'll be out of here.
I mean, I should have taken Virginia. How could we have not known Virginia was going to win the title
right,
after
I'm
that?
like, okay, they're not losing. If Tony Bennett comes on the sports bar.
Yeah. The great Jay Moore. Yeah, you won it. I think I won it, and then you won it because I remember we got in trouble. We're not supposed to hang anything on the walls of our studios. These walls are very, very particular. They're sound soak walls, and if you puncture them with a pin, it could ruin the sound soak. And so, company-wide mandate: nothing goes on the walls. Right?
Yeah, I think that
some
was
people
right
follow
after
that rule better than others, but we're Boy Scouts.
Yeah, that was rule number 2 right after no wire hangers. Boy, there's a lot of code we're talking in today. Yeah.
I remember hanging my championship bracket next to you as a reminder that I won it one year, and then the following year you did the same thing to me.
And then we got scolded.
We got scolded because I pinned it on the sound soak right next to you, which that's a no-no. That pinhole could create, you don't have no idea what kind of damage a pinhole can do to these precious walls. Anyways, help my daughter. I know you said she should do it on her own, but I did try to impart a lesson on her as I was helping her. And granted, when I told her, I know as much as you do, I wasn't lying. But what I do know how to do better than she does in this arena is prepare and do some research and do some reading and watch some videos and follow some people that might know more about it than you do. And that's where I started with her, and I introduced her to the world of KenPom and making sure she understood that there's a handful of teams that you might think are good, but they don't fit the criteria that 88% of Final Four teams fit when they're both top 50 in adjusted offense and adjusted defense. For example, St. John's. Everybody loves St. John's. Everybody loves Patino. He's the best going right now, but they're 65th in adjusted offense. Does that make you nervous taking them as a team that could potentially go to the Final Four out of the Big East?
No. You know why? Because they're number one defensively.
Okay.
That's why, Danger. But
these are just teams that fit the criteria, right?
That's
so
where,
I'm explaining it to her, and I'm saying, I'm not saying that they're bad teams to pick, but they could be upset. They're more vulnerable and susceptible. You mentioned yesterday that PJ said on Monday, Kentucky is somebody that he is not trusting. Kentucky, 56th in adjusted defense. They are not top 50 in both defense and offense.
if you're thinking, boy, Connecticut, they've got that resume. They're 96 defensively. They can't stop anybody.
They're not a good team.
No, they are
year.
not a good team at all.
Right. So I'm going through this with her, and I know that, there's no way. Well, I'm not going to say there's no way. There's always a way. But, as I'm looking at these matchups, and she's just rifling them off at me, I'm kind of looking at KenPom, and I'm trying to say, okay, how about let's look at what teams fit the criteria per region, right? And in the South, you've got 4 teams that fit the criteria where they're top 50 in both adjusted offense and adjusted defense. Let's start with those 4 teams. But then you look at the bracket, I'm like, Jesus, it's all chalk. There's a reason why they're the top 4 seeds in any bracket, because they're good. And could this be a year where we see more chalk than we normally would see?
I would say go back to PJ Glasser with us February, the week after the NFL ended. Week after the Super Bowl, and I just asked him a simple question. Hey, now that we're kind of turning our attention to give me kind of like an underdog, a team that nobody's paying attention to. And he said, Gene, no, you don't understand. It's Auburn
and Duke.
And Duke.
Yeah.
I'll ask you this question, Danger. Anybody wants to join us, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. We'll tell you who's coming up on the show today in the 4 o'clock hour. Who are the only 2 teams? And this is a question that anybody who fills out a bracket should know. The only 2 teams that are top 10 KenPom offensive adjusted rating and defensive adjusted rating. Only 2 teams in the top 10 are
Houston and Duke.
Yes. Houston is top 10. There are 3. I beg your pardon.
I'm sorry.
Yep. Nope. They're 10th. Yep. Houston is 2nd.
Houston, Duke, and Florida.
Yep, that's it. My eyes just went past Houston at 10. Yep.
Florida's
so 3 teams.
Florida's 10th in defense, 1st in offense. Houston's 10th in offense, 2nd in defense, and Duke is winning the whole thing. It doesn't matter. That was my end. My end result with her is it doesn't really matter. Just pick Duke to win the whole thing, and you have a pretty good chance of doing all right. You're going to have some upsets along the way, but go ahead and just pencil in Duke as your champion. I know that we always fall for the Gonzaga trap. Gonzaga to the Sweet 16, though, that feels like that's something that happens every year. I'm not saying they're going to be anything beyond that, but Gonzaga, 9th in offense, 29th in defense in the Midwest region. I mean, a sleeper maybe to make it out of the Midwest, but probably Sweet 16.
Well, the question is, they would have to knock off the number 1 in that bracket. Gonzaga as an 8 going against Georgia as a 9. What do you think of Houston? Houston's one of those
pretty
teams.
good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Pretty good team.
So I honestly, that to me is where it ends. I'll give Gonzaga 1 win on that. Yes, like you, I'm kind of feeling like I'm Chalky Chalkman too. I'm not making my picks today, by the way. And you could say, "Oh, you hypocrite." No, actually, I like every last second. And then I'll make my picks tomorrow. And by the time we get on the air tomorrow at the tap room at Bill Gray's, Chilai Avenue, I'm sure
you'll have your rooting interests in line.
Well, not only that, there'll be one team that already screwed me, I think.
Well, we also want to absorb as much as we can from the people that do follow this very closely and put their money where their mouth is. Guys like Ryan Horvat from BetMGM tonight, who will be stopping by the sports bar right around 4:25 this afternoon.
Ryan Horvath, who is the godfather of that show. He has been on that show since day one.
Disciple of Bart Winkler, the great Bart Winkler, who's joined us as well.
That's right. Yeah. So Bart, certainly a friend of the show as well. So we'll get Ryan's take. You hear him every weeknight when we don't have the Amerks or we don't have St. John Fisher lacrosse. Tonight, we'll get to him right after lacrosse. We'll get Ryan's picks here, his thoughts, and just use him as a resource. And if you got any questions, you can also hit us up on the fan, our handle, the Fan Rochester on X.
We'll also be joined by our old friend Trista Crick. We haven't had Trista on with us for quite some time, and she's got some interesting thoughts on the tournament.
Yeah, so Trista, we'll also ask her about the NBA. She is the host of the Heat Chat podcast. So, like, when it comes to NBA talk, boy, she's right there. But, boy, she's got a new concept. I'm so late to this, Danger. We pick brackets. You can also play money line. You could just play against, the spread. You could do whatever player props. There's all sorts of different ways. But what about my personal favorite when it comes to the NFL?
Oh, you love your Survivor football.
Don't we all?
That's your thing. I mean, Survivor football, one pick. You think it would be easy to pick a winner every week in the NFL, and it's not as easy when you consider that you can only take a team once. And even if you take a team that you think is heavily favored, it doesn't matter. It's the NFL. Upsets happen all the time.
Right, and there is strategy, and I came up with my system, and it worked once, and it came close another time. What if you applied Survivor football logic, and you made it Survivor basketball?
Oh, interesting.
You pick one team a day, not a week, one team a day. So in this instance, Danger, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Once you use that team, you're out. You can't use that team again. Once you lose, you're out. The difference here being it's the last team standing. And the difference being here, savers are losers. Well, if it is a year for chalk, and we think it is it wise to use your day number one pick, St. John's, a 2 seed, over a 15 seed? When you might want to use them, I don't know, Sweet 16, Elite 8. Who's in the national championship game? Like, ultimately, can you do this and figure out who will be in the national championship game and save that pick until then? Because, voila, you'll win.
Right.
Oh, my gosh, the strategy.
So now, we'll get her to kind of explain it even more. So it's one team per region?
One team per day.
One team per day.
One team per day, not region.
Okay, so when we have games tomorrow, and by the way, before we dive into this a little bit more, a good reminder, tomorrow we will be live for the start of the tournament. Tap room at Bill Gray's, Chilai Avenue. We're there from 3 until 6 broadcasting live. We'll have St. John Fisher head men's basketball coach Mike Rosadonia joining us. We'll also speak with Dan Fates, talk some Bills tomorrow afternoon. Live from the tap room at Bill Gray's, Chilai Avenue for the start of the tournament. It's one of the best days on the sports calendar. We're looking forward to it. We have $9 pitchers of Jenny, which is always appreciated, and I think they listen to the show. They know
9 times.
And we also know that we want to see you because we can share a cold one and maybe a win or two. Once per day, you take a team. So tomorrow, you just say, I'm taking one team to advance, and the higher seed, obviously, is a team that you would easily take, knowing, okay, I'm going to go ahead and take, let me just go ahead and take Auburn on day one.
Yeah.
But that, from a strategy standpoint, you've always said in Survivor, savers are losers. So why would you save if you know Auburn is going to advance? Let me go ahead and take them into the second round. It's just a matter of every day kind of like.
Danger, do I want to burn all 4 first-round picks here on opening weekend? Because then you get to the Sweet 16 and, okay, that's not as easy now. Now, there is one team. I'm going to do this.
Okay.
I'm going to play along. Now, I'm not going to do like the hoopla with the, because there's not a lot of emotion. That comes from the heart when I do that in football season, when I'm giving my picks and
we have
flailing my hands.
We have music.
We have music.
There was a weird period of time there where you were singing every week as you were giving your pick?
Again, emotion. That was just, you know.
You were drunk. I don't know what that was. It was like your bad karaoke as you're giving out your picks. It was fun. It was a good time.
I'm looking at 2 4 seeds.
Okay.
And I'll ask Trista for her opinion on this. Do we go with, I think opening day a 4 over a 13, although that's not a fail-safe, feels pretty good. A lot of options tomorrow, Danger. Do I go with, say, Texas Tech as a 3 over UNC Wilmington? Texas A&M, a 4 seed over Yale? What about Purdue?
Purdue. What do we know about High Point?
I don't know anything about High Point.
Right.
And Purdue is, well, maybe I just go back to who's the higher spread. Purdue favored by 8.5.
Okay.
Texas Tech favored by 15.5.
Now, Purdue is one of those teams that isn't in the top 50 in both adjusted offense and adjusted defense, according to KenPom. They're 63rd in adjusted defense.
Wisconsin at 1:30 tomorrow tips off against Montana. Wisconsin a 17.5-point favorite.
Okay.
That looks really good. Now, I'm not going anywhere near an 8-9 or 7-10 on this. PJ Glasser, by the way, picking an upset VCU over BYU. I would love to do that, but we have to. BYU is favored in that game. We're not taking on day number 1 a true underdog.
I would imagine. I was on the phone earlier today with some friends in the Virginia area who are going to Denver to see VCU potentially beat BYU. Like they're hype on this VCU team that VCU could surprise some people in this tournament.
Well, the A-10 used to be this spunky mid-major that would I don't know what happened. Bonaventure got pasted last night, too.
Shaka Smart left.
A long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. That was like, to me, he was like the face of that conference for a while.
You had John Chaney and Calipari and everybody else way back in the day.
Right.
Rick Majerus.
Oh, God, Rick Majerus.
Yeah. Rest his soul.
So Trista will join us right around 4 o'clock, and we'll talk a little bit about this. And, of course, yes, with Trista, we have to dive into the NBA a little bit here. We don't talk a ton of NBA in the sports bar, but there's certainly a lot of personalities and there's a lot of movement. And there was an epic trade, obviously, earlier this year that's setting up for what should be an unbelievable and wild postseason.
Yeah, can I kind of go against the grain here a little bit because it was posh to kind of dump on the NBA, and a lot of people point to things like Philadelphia and what Dallas is doing. And look, that's certainly not great, right? But I would say this. You have 2 young and hungry teams in Cleveland and Oklahoma City who, finger quote, play the game the right way. And who's going to challenge them? Popular teams from big markets. New York, Boston, the L.A. Lakers.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what you want? The Lakers as an underdog? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, in the West, like I can't sleep on Denver. I can't sleep on Minnesota. Like it's going to be wild. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so the lesson here is the NBA regular season, the NHL regular season. No, the NBA regular season is way too long. Whatever Emirate is, whatever the tournament they put in November, that's not going to solve it. But when we get to the postseason, I'm gonna be all in. We'll get Trista's take here as we're winding down here. Just a few weeks left.
All right, we'll take a break here. We'll come back. There's some news from around the NFL that we want to get to. The NFL, some rule changes being proposed by certain teams, and the owners' meetings are coming up, so there will be some votes, and the NFL might slightly alter the way it looks to you as a fan next year and moving forward.
Yeah, and Danger, I got a take here as well because we used to be fun to make fun of the Raiders, right? They would always put out there, the press releases, and they would always have the pictures of the Lombardi Trophy, the team of the decades, commitment to excellence.
Yeah, commitment to excellence was fun. I like that when it was in the mid '80s, and you'd see commitment to excellence on everything that they did, and it's like. And then they moved back to Oakland, and commitment to excellence kind of went away.
No, well, they still went with it to the point where Rome was calling it something a little more graphic, and a lot of people were in it. The point being the Raiders were kind of the last one to kind of realize, very tone deaf, very kind of tunnel vision. They had no concept that they shouldn't be doing that anymore. Which team in the NFL can we say is now that version of the Raiders, that they think they are this team and really are not? And the answer is no, it's not the Cowboys. even though I would listen to that argument.
All right, we'll get into that. And we'll take your calls as well. You can join us anytime this afternoon. The Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line is open for you at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com.
Sports Update.
The LA Dodgers now 2-0 on the season. LA over the Cubs this morning, 6-3. Shohei Ohtani, his first home run of the season. Opening day stateside coming up next Thursday. Of course, tomorrow on Thursday, opening day of the NCAA tournament. Before we get to that, though, first four concludes tonight. Xavier in Texas, one of the matchups. Sean Miller, the head coach of Xavier.
I think Rodney Terry and his team, they pride themselves on the defensive end. Tough-minded defense. I think they do an outstanding job there. We respect the league they came from. We respect them a great deal. And I think for us, we have to play at our best to have an opportunity to beat them.
Huge lacrosse game locally here tonight. St. John Fisher hosting third-ranked RIT. We will have coverage of Cardinals lacrosse beginning at 7 o'clock tonight. Rochester Americans hosting Charlotte on Friday. Gene Battaglia on the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Trista Crick going to join us in about a half an hour. Also in the 4 o'clock hour, we'll hear from Ryan Horvat. Talk some bracketology with BetMGM tonight's Ryan Horvat. We have free tickets to give away this afternoon, too. Deftones coming to KeyBank Center. Black Keys coming to CMAC. Free tickets this afternoon in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. Welcome back.
Welcome back, Danger. Your phone call is 866-4FAN, 866-4326. You can reach us on X, The Fan Rochester. Danger, as I was mentioning, I used to mock the Raiders. Well, the team of the decades. Commitment to excellence.
Yeah.
That all kind of applied when you had Marcus Allen and you beat Washington in the Super Bowl. And
what have you done for me lately?
Yeah, and then the 90s came around, and I guess you have Bo Jackson for a little bit, and then you're still doing this in the 2000s.
Do you remember, there was so much promise and so many, players that, I don't know that there was a lot of promise around Jamarcus Russell, but what a flop. How about Todd Marinovich? Again, what a flop. Just a lot of, it doesn't matter who, we're going to get them, and they're going to, the Raider way will rub off on them, and they're going to be a success. And then you get guys like Henry Ruggs that, are just awful. And then the Raiders become this laughing stock. You had that little period of time there where Gruden kind of elevated them, and Gannon, but it's a bad organization.
Yeah, and in the one year that they actually got back to the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers, but as the story goes, Bill Callahan didn't change any of the play calls, and literally Tampa Bay knew exactly what was coming. Right. It was just brutal game. Well, why am I bringing up the Raiders? Well, it's an analogy. And the analogy is this. Who would fit that bill today? And no, I'm not talking about the Cowboys, because I don't think the Cowboys are trying to trick anybody. They're about making money and brand or whatever. I'm talking about a team that thinks they're in this upper echelon. And many of their fans think they're in the upper echelon too. They haven't won a playoff game since 2016, and I don't see them fixing that this year. That would be your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay. Can I correct something before you continue? Because I think a lot of their fans don't view them as that team anymore. I think a lot of their fans are actually very pissed off at where this team is. A team that consistently wins, a team that usually makes the postseason, and a team that just disappoints down the stretch and falls apart.
Well, now your lack of a plan at quarterback. Yep. It was all cute last year, wow, they flipped the quarterback room for no investment. Okay, that can work for one season. And by the way, did it shock anyone that neither of those guys actually panned out in the end? Sure, you won enough games to be above 500. Yay! I didn't know that was the point of the game. The state of this franchise now, you're pining for a 41-year-old quarterback. Pining for a quarterback who, Green Bay, their fan base, get out of here. Jets fan base, get out of here. And that's the Jets, who have the longest playoff drought. How is this going to work out in Pittsburgh? Danger, I'm planting my flag. I want Rodgers to say yes to Pittsburgh in August, and then to finally let it all melt down. Put this team out of their misery. Congratulations to the Steelers that you are the new Raiders.
I think the Steelers are not going to wait for Aaron Rodgers until August. I think the Steelers will draft a Jalen Milroe or something like that and pin their hopes on that with Mason Rudolph already in tow. I think that when we heard here in the last 24 hours that the Vikings are not going to pursue Aaron Rodgers at this time, that leaves the door open for Rodgers to actually sign with the Vikings in August. Because when you look back at history, Gino, in 2009, good old Brett Favre, he didn't sign with the Vikings until August 18th. Do you remember how that went?
I was just down in I was retired, Mike Danger.
Okay. Listen,
I'm
I don't know
gonna
that we should
offend
do
somebody.
impersonations here because I think we offend people when we do impersonations.
Well, I allegedly stole a lot of money later on. So I think
we
you're
have people from the South that listen to this show, Gino. I mean, and we might have some people who steal from the poor as well. So let's not offend those people, okay? With your Brett Favre impersonation. It's 2025 after all. I think that the Steelers and the Giants are both not going to wait around for Favre, that they're going to have to take action because Favre doesn't owe anybody anything. I'm sorry, Rodgers doesn't owe anybody anything.
Dude, they're one and the same.
They are.
They're one and the same.
They really are.
Well, now the story today is that the Steelers are, Mike Tomlin having dinner with Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That should be the plan.
Right, that makes sense. And if they did that, it might not pan out for them this year. It's a sketchy plan this year, but we don't know what kind of a pro Jalen Milroe is going to be, and I would imagine it can't be any worse than what they tried with Kenny Pickett for a couple of seasons.
Yeah, at least they recognized early on that, okay, this isn't it, but the plan since then, 866-4FAN, our phone number. Deanna from Rochester calling.
There's a Steeler
hey,
fan.
Deanna.
Hey guys, how are you? Yeah, this whole Aaron Rodgers thing, most of Steelers Nation is like, move on. We'll go with Rudolph. Heck, go sign Joe Flacco for all we care at this point. They don't want Aaron Rodgers. It is not worth the hassle and the headache that this guy brings wherever he goes. He is a coach killer. He's a team killer. Let him go stand on a beach or sit in some dark room and count his money and move on.
Deanna, am I right in believing that most Steeler fans they don't view this franchise the way the franchise views the franchise? Like, Gene's point is that the Steelers are actually the new Raiders, where they speak this commitment to excellence and that we are led to believe that they are this elite organization, when the reality is they haven't really won anything. They haven't won any playoff games. And for all the accolades and all the flowers that get thrown to Mike Tomlin for being one of the best coaches in the game, he's mid-pack at best, according to a lot of Steeler fan friends that I have.
You've hit the nail right on the head. A lot of them wanted Tomlin fired after the end of last season with that 5-game debacle at the end of the season, and were absolutely livid when Art Rooney's like, nope, we're staying the course.
Yeah.
They live in mediocrity at this point. They'll say, well, we want to do this for Cam or TJ, but you're not building around them to get your desired results. And I'm not sure how much longer Tomlin's going to be there, because the calls for him to be gone are getting louder and louder. It's time to change your mentality. The game has changed, the league has changed, and they're getting run on by everybody else.
Deanna, you mentioned a name, too, that I have to ask you about, because I have a hard time seeing the Steelers and Steeler fans getting behind Joe Flacco as their quarterback. I can't visualize a guy that played for the Ravens and won championships with that organization being somebody that the Steelers would embrace.
At this point, there's not much left out there. I would take Flacco over Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
I mean, we got Patrick Queen from Baltimore now. Yeah. Malik Harrison from Baltimore has come over. So at this point, I think they're willing to take anybody they can get that's coming to willing to play for them. And because they put all the eggs in the Justin Fields basket, this is what they got left to deal with.
Wow. Deanna, I feel for you.
Hey, the way I look at it is, we went almost 20 years with a franchise quarterback. It's time to step back because they did not have a succession plan in place, and build the team and then find the quarterback, because that's what they did the last time, and it worked out pretty darn well.
Yeah. Deanna, thanks for the call. Hang in there.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, appreciate you. That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, like, the Steeler fans are pissed. And
Maybe
it's
I'm
not
wrong on that.
Yeah,
Like, that's the part
it's not good enough for them to have a winning record every year. That they expect more. It's not good enough for them to make the postseason and bow out in the first round. A lot of teams will be satiated with that. I mean, if you're a Jags fan, a Colts fan, you'd be like, yeah, we would take a playoff berth right about now, even if we did get bounced in the first round. We would take that. Like Charger fans, I think, were pretty excited that in year one of Jim Harbaugh, they were able to make the postseason. They're okay with that.
It's pretty clear now what they're going to do. It's not going to be Rodgers. It'll actually be Jalen Milroe. And could you eke out 9 wins, be relevant, be above 500 again? And, we didn't make the playoffs, or, we were bounced again as the 7th seed. But you know what? We've got a young quarterback. We're going to build around that young quarterback.
Well, look, I mean, Washington made it to the NFC Championship on the arm and on the legs of Jaden Daniels. And you don't think that that's catnip for other head coaches, that they're not going to try and find their young athletic stud quarterback that can do likewise?
Here's why I have no faith that would work. Okay, even if the quarterback is great, who is the guy coaching him up? I'm not talking about Tomlin. They thought it was a good idea to hire Arthur Smith.
Yeah.
That buffoon. You had all that talent down in Atlanta, wasted. But you know what? That's our guy, Arthur Smith.
Yeah.
Like following Matt Canada with Arthur Smith.
Yeah, not great. Not great. Not a coach that inspires a lot of greatness from what we could tell.
Not great, Bob.
Well, maybe Tomlin and Jalen Milroe have a great relationship. They had a fine meal, and it is Jalen Milroe in the draft for the Steelers, and they have what they perceive to be their new guy. And again, I don't think it can be much worse than the Kenny Pickett experiment, but they're finding themselves drafting quarterbacks in years where there aren't any quarterbacks to draft. Kenny Pickett was part of a bad quarterback class in that year's draft as well. And Jalen Milroe, good luck. Good luck. I mean, there's a lot of athleticism there. Just don't think there's a ton of accuracy. But we'll see how it all plays out. And yes, the Vikings now have become my team to land Aaron Rodgers. I know I said this almost tongue-in-cheek a couple of weeks ago, and you laughed at me. You're like, there's no way. I'm like, oh, no, there's a way. And that way is he's going to wait. And throughout the offseason program, when J.J. McCarthy is taking all the first-team reps, when they eventually say at the end of the OTAs and heading into training camp, he's good, he's our guy for the future, but he's not going to be good enough to replicate what we did last season. We need Rodgers. Then there'll be, just like there was with Favre, there'll be a divide in the locker room. There'll be JJ guys and there'll be Rodgers guys.
Well, that's the problem. What you're laying out is all plausible. And how do you head that off, Danger? All you need is one front office exec. All you need is Kevin O'Connell to speak. And if you want to play to your fan base, who do they look at and go, come on. We don't want the guy from Green Bay that was, kicked off the team essentially in 2021. All he has to do is say something like that, and you put an end to it. Put some lighter fluid on that bridge and go.
Nobody's going to do it.
Won't do it.
Nobody's going to do it.
Until that actually happens, Danger, then, okay, we're going to be in August.
Yep. And they'll sign him, and we'll have Schism 2, the sequel.
See, that's just dumb. You're in on McCarthy.
Yeah.
Whether Rodgers is in that locker room or not, do you understand that now all of a sudden, oh my gosh. Because guess what happens with young quarterbacks? Sometimes they look really bad, and you don't want a preseason game to be this vote, this referendum on the quarterback. Like, oh my gosh, do you want that? Or should we call Aaron Rodgers? Give us a call here in Minneapolis radio. They need to put an end to that now.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Rodgers, if you ask me now today, who's he signing with? If he signs with anybody, it's the Vikings. I'm so excited for this. This is going to be so much fun.
You're excited because you know how that's going to work out.
Yes!
There'll be a couple games where, wow, look at that. He threw that to Addison. He threw that to JJ.
He's got some weapons.
And then what'll happen in the end?
Of course. Yeah, of course. It'll be great. It'll be
Tracy
awesome.
Morgan.
Yeah, he'll vomit all over the field. It'll be great. But we have a ways to go. Like I said, in 2009, Favre didn't sign until August 18th. And then he showed up, and then the schism happened. with Tavares Jackson, and the locker room was split. And it'll happen again. It'll happen again. It's unbelievable. There are a couple of rule changes that are being proposed by a handful of teams. The NFL owners' meetings are coming up. We'll talk about some of these next. First, let's give out some free concert tickets. We've got another free pair of tickets for you to see the Deftones with Phanogram. That's September 1st at KeyBank Center. Tickets are on sale now at livenation.com. You can win them for free if you're caller 5 right now at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326 for a free pair of tickets to see the Deftones at KeyBank Center on September 1st from 95.7 The Fan.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with And AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Host of the Heat Check, Trista Crick, stopping by the sports bar here in about 10-15 minutes. Ryan Horvat, BetMGM tonight, also going to stop by. We'll talk some brackets with him right around 4:30. A couple of rule changes being proposed here in the NFL owners' meetings. What, next week, Gene? I believe next week, right?
It is March 30th.
Okay,
so
end of next week.
So it begins on a Sunday. It's down. That always cracks me up. A few reasons. There's like reporters like Perino in a cocktail hour setting where you have your McDermotts, your owners, everybody else. Like, how cliquey is that, do you think? I would just be fascinated.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's the team's opportunity to, it's like hey, we'll grant you access to this cocktail party and a little bit of time with all of us so we can,
appreciate you. You just get a glimpse of what real wealth is actually like. And then you know what the big thing too is the group photo. The group photo of the NFL head coaches.
Andy Reid wearing his gigantic Hawaiian shirt, always standing out from the crowd. Yeah, that we'll look forward to as well. I always like to see who's sitting next to or standing next to whom. Like what's the seating chart and the configuration going to look like this year? A handful of rule changes that are being proposed before we get to the NFL owners meetings. And any rule change for it to pass needs 24 yes votes from owners. So the Lions proposing a couple, the Eagles proposing one, and of course we knew about the Packers' proposal to try and ban the tush push, the Philly quarterback sneak that works to near perfection. And Green Bay wants to, the rule as it would read would be to prohibit an offensive player from pushing a teammate who was lined up directly behind the snapper and receive the snap immediately at the snap.
I actually have exclusive audio from that. This was the Packers. The Philadelphia Eagles were very mean to me. They pushed me down the stairs. I fell.
Oh, wait, hold on a second here.
I broke my glasses.
Sounds like you have a lawsuit or something. Is this a lawsuit?
I'm going to sue the Philadelphia Eagles.
It's not hitting. It's not hitting the same way.
I'm going to sue Roger Goodell, and I'm going to sue Josh Allen, too, because he does that.
Yeah.
I'm going to sue everyone.
I fell down the stairs, and my shoes fell off. I fell down the stairs, and I broke my glasses, all because of the tush push. And so I'm going to sue Howie Roseman. I'm going to sue Jalen Hurts. I'm suing everybody.
Yes.
I'm the Green Bay Packers.
I'm going to sue.
It doesn't hit the same way.
I'm going to sue the fan Rochester.
Doesn't hit the same way. Sorry. That's one of the rules being proposed here for a change. Detroit had a couple of interesting ones. The one that they proposed would eliminate the automatic first down when you have defensive holding and illegal contact.
Ooh, that's interesting. So pass interference still automatic first down, but we hate that. 5 yards off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
I bet you that doesn't, because that would just encourage everybody to get a little more handsy, right?
Well, the reason why they gave this, the reason they gave for this proposal, this change, competitive equity. Current penalty enforcement is too punitive for the defense. Well, that's why it's not going to pass, because who cares about the defense? We want offense. We want points. We want touchdowns.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the spirit of which they're trying to change this rule, but I'd be shocked if they said, "Oh yeah, we're going to do something that actually helps the game be a little bit more, that tilts the scale more in the favor of the defense." No. It's an offensive league.
The Lions, the other one that people are going to be debating and every talk show will be kind of kicking around. Hey, a wild card team that has the better record than the divisional winner. Take, for example, Minnesota, 14-3 last year, except they have to go on the road, and that wasn't in L.A. The Wildfires, it was actually in Arizona. But the point is, this new rule change would have the team with the better record actually hosting.
Right.
That being Minnesota. Danger, I would say this. Boy, it's kind of timely for a team out of the NFC North to be putting this forward after it happened last year. And then, could that actually happen again? Projecting that probably that's the best division in football today.
I think that the league wants there to be additional meaning and weight to winning a division, which gives them the right to say, no, they should host a home. If you win the division, you host a playoff game. You take that away, then what's the benefit of winning the division? If you're, let's say Seattle wins the division next year, but you finish with a 9-8 record and you're not going, I mean, you're kind of pissed off about that. You're getting chumped out of a home playoff game.
Yeah, and the point being, sorry that you finished second, finish first.
Right.
Finish first. Win your division, you get a home game.
Right. The Eagles also made a proposal to expand regular season overtime to 15 minutes from 10 and guarantee that both teams have the opportunity to possess the ball. Basically, take the overtime rules that exist in the postseason and now apply them to the regular season, because the team that receives the overtime kickoff in the regular season can win a regular season game just by scoring a touchdown on its first possession, ensuring that the other team doesn't ever get on the field in overtime. And we've seen with the 10-minute overtime, teams can, I mean, look, if you're a defense, come up with a stop. It sounds simple, but teams will milk that clock, and you'll still see, an 8-minute drive that ends in a field goal with the team, not having any time to get anything done, or they score that touchdown and only one team gets the ball.
I would say, how many ties did we have in the league last year? I know the answer. None. So, the 10 to 15 minutes, no. You have more games than ever, teams playing on short weeks.
Yeah.
So, that's all. Yeah.
I like this. I hope this one passes, because I like the 15 minutes, and I like both teams getting a chance to get the ball. And the reason why we went from 15 to 10 minutes in overtime in the first place, it was all under the umbrella of player safety. And to the point you're making here, that weeks are shorter and that they need more time to rest. That would be a hard thing, I think, for them to get through because of player safety. Or if this does pass, it tells you player safety is something that's still, they want to give you the perception that it matters, but it just matters a little bit
Can
less.
you say player safety again?
Player safety.
Yeah, player. Yeah. Wink, wink, nod, finger quote.
They like their player safety. So those are a couple of the proposals. And again, for any of those rule changes, those proposals to pass, they need at least 24 yes votes from NFL owners. There was one other NFL note, and I don't think we have to spend a ton of time on this, but I think it's of note because the one and only time we had a chance to talk to Josh Allen at St. John Fisher during Bills camp, it was the season after season 1 of Quarterback, the Netflix series, the Peyton Manning Netflix series. And we asked him if it would be something he would consider doing. And at the time, there was a lot of rumor that Josh Allen was going to be featured because he was young and up and coming. And Mahomes did it the year before, so why not have Allen do it the following year? And, you just basically told Josh Allen, everybody has a number, right? And he kind of said, yeah. Everybody has a number.
He nodded his head and apparently the number wasn't met, and they went to the receivers. Well, the point being that season 3 of the series in Netflix, you went quarterback, you went wide receiver, and they come out with this trailer today, mascot. And no, it's not April Fool Day. It's going to be quarterback. They're doing the quarterback again. Josh Allen is not one of the 3 quarterbacks, but I would say these other guys are interesting for various reasons.
Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins. So Cousins being on it again is interesting because, and I also think to myself, Cousins is set to be a backup this year in Atlanta if that sticks. If you're a team interested in acquiring Kirk Cousins or trading for Kirk Cousins, does this add a layer of stench to having to trade for Kirk Cousins, knowing that Kirk Cousins is going to have a camera crew following him all over the place? Jared Goff, I think, will be fun because maybe we'll get a little bit more insight to the relationship with Dan Campbell and everything that's going on with the Lions here. And Dan Campbell, I think, he's a coach that has a lot to prove this year. They fell short of expectation last year, and now he has new offensive and defensive coordinators working with him. What does Detroit become with Jared Goff as their quarterback? And Burrow doesn't surprise me because if a team was going to say, yeah, sure, come on, follow our guy, the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals just doing what they did with Chase and with Higgins and Burrow being the vocal advocate for his receivers, getting paid what they're getting paid. That'll be interesting, but I don't think it helps Cincinnati at all. At all. Give me a peek into the dysfunction that exists with the Bengals.
That's it. Yeah, that's
I'll
it.
take that.
Yeah.
I'll take that with Joe Burrow. Trista Crick is going to join us next. She's the host of the Heat Check NBA podcast. We'll also talk some brackets and talk about her survivor bracket for March Madness that we were talking about a little bit earlier. She'll give us a little bit of color into that. Trista Crick stopping by the Sports Bar next on The Fan.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger. The Fan, and transform those sleepy tunes into electrifying sports action. WROC AM, WBEE HD2 Rochester, and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
The LA Dodgers now 2-0 on the season. LA over the Cubs 6-3. Shohei Ohtani, his first home run of the season. Opening day coming up next Thursday. Buffalo Bills freeing up some cap space, reworking the deal. Linebacker Matt Milano, Brownie and Tasker offering their thoughts.
I think we have to at least prepare ourselves for the possibility that this is the final season of Matt Milano in a Bills uniform.
I think it's a win-win for both sides. Milano gets a chance to prove himself, and he gets a chance to cash in on it if he does. Smart move by both sides. Him taking the pay cut to helping the team out and to help get better around him.
First for tonight, Xavier and Texas, the headline matchup. St. John Fisher Lacrosse tonight. The Cardinals with a test. They host third-ranked RIT. Our cover of St. John Fisher Lacrosse begins at 7. Amherst hosts Charlotte on Friday. Team Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Let's talk March Madness, have a few laughs.
Nothing ever lives up to the hype except March Madness.
Something or nothing happened with the Vikings and Aaron Rodgers today.
J.J. McCarthy.
JJ! Hey, what's good, baby? Mike Danger.
We kind of said, you know what, let's do it differently. Let's do something that isn't like what sports talk in Rochester has been like for many, many years, but have a take. Don't suck. Add something to the conversation that we maybe have forgotten or missed. Enhance it. Make it better for everybody.
Battaglia.
Very simple lesson. You are responsible for the position you are in.
Correct. I love this lesson.
You are responsible for this. It's your responsibility, and this is your plan? Okay.
Only my Cubs could go into the regular season 0-2. They're the only team in history that goes into the regular season 0-2. Idiotic.
The sports smoothie bar moving forward.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
Yeah, with that Dodgers win, they're still on track. My prediction is still very much alive. 157 win season for the LA Dodgers this year, now 2-0.
Yeah, and I remember who you said they're going to lose to. They're going to lose to the Giants. The Diamondbacks, who are good. The Athletics are going to rise. The Rockies somehow, and somehow the Marlins. Those will be the 5 losses.
Those are the 5 losses for the Dodgers this year. We're going to go heavy and cram here for your brackets. It's our friend Trista Crick joining us now in the sports bar. It's been a minute since we've had you on, stranger. How you been? What you doing?
Oh, man, I've missed you guys. I am back on the West Coast. I'm hanging with Mom, doing some stuff with her. Been on Cam and Mace's show a lot so far in 2025. Traveling to a bunch of different events for Super Bowl and all that, the whole gamut. And now I'm back resting, ready to go for this NCAA tournament.
Trista, I feel like you have opened up my eyes to March Madness, because when it comes to fall football, one of the things that I like to have a little action on, certainly Survivor football. And I love, the sweat that comes with it, all the stress, and then when you get by and you do it all over again. You can do this in March Madness, too? Tell us about this concept.
Yeah, I'm horrible at putting together brackets, and just like you, I love NFL Survivor. That's how I got into it. And so March Madness Survivor is very similar to NFL, which is once you take a team, you can't ever take them again. But you just choose one team to win per day of the tournament until the Sweet 16, where you have to choose 2, and then you go back to 1 again. So if you think Duke's going to win it all, do not take Duke in the opening round, because you're going to run out of that team once they go to the national title, right? Or if you think that they will. So you have to kind of look at the bracket, see how it all stacks up, and see who you want to take chances on in terms of these surprise 13 seeds, 12 seeds, what have you, and then say, okay, well, I don't think this team's going to beat St. John's, but I do think maybe Coach Cal in Arkansas can beat Kansas, or something along those lines, right? Or, I think maybe Drake could shoot the lights out and maybe beat Missouri, but maybe I don't think that they can beat Texas Tech. So you choose one on Thursday, you choose one on Friday, put both picks in, and then you see how the chips fall. Winner takes all. $50 buy-in. You can have up to 3 entries. And then I'm pretty sure that we're all set to have a rebuy-in if you get knocked out in the Sweet 16 to get another chance. So it's super fun.
I'm so intrigued by this because when we talk about Survivor football, we have like these kind of guidelines that we like to follow when we make our picks on a week-by-week basis. We always start with the spread. We let Vegas be our guide, and we say, okay, who's got the widest spread? Are they at home? Is it a divisional game? What are these factors? And I would imagine that there are similar strategies that you'd want to apply when you're selecting these teams. And you mentioned like you wouldn't want to take Duke, on Friday if you have a belief that Duke is going to win the whole thing.
Right, exactly. So say, for example, there are a lot of chalky teams or 1 or 2 seeds that I think people are very excited about, Duke being one of them. Maybe a team like Houston. I'm not a huge Houston believer, though, right? So say, for example, I think Houston's completely overrated. And Houston has, in many times in this tournament, been a 1 or a 2 seed and gotten bounced in, the Elite Eight or the Sweet 16. So maybe you want to take Houston as like your early pick because they're playing SIU Edwardsville, and maybe you think there's a chance that Gonzaga is underrated and they could beat them. So you would take those 1 seeds early or those 2 seeds early. For me, I think one of the greatest examples, and Liberty's obviously a tough team, but my Oregon Ducks somehow, some way got put in Seattle, Washington for their opening 2 games. And they play Liberty in game 1, and then they play Arizona in game 2. Dana Altman, what he consistently does is take the Oregon Ducks to the Sweet 16. So I would take Oregon in one of those 2 matchups. Maybe you like Arizona to beat Akron in game 1, and then you take Oregon against Arizona in a former Pac-12 rivalry, which they've played each other a lot in the past. And so maybe you do that. So I think you look at where these teams are playing to. You have to go into, history. For example, Coach Cal is one of those guys, one of those coaches that has been underwhelming in tournament play. We love Auburn. They're 1 seed, again, 1 overall. Remember, they got bounced by Yale. So I would look at location. I would look at history. And then let KenPom be your friend. KenPom.com is the nerd site that I go to, and you can kind of see their styles in terms of the 2 teams that are playing against each other. Remember, Yale shot the leather off the ball against Auburn and beat the hell out of them and upset them in the first opening round. So I would look at that in terms of making your decisions.
Yeah, I mean, what about, because I'm looking, if you're just going by the seeding, is it too soon, would you say, to take a 3? Because theoretically, if you want to just play chalk, you could go 3 seeds in the first and second round, 2 seeds and then maybe if you do think everything is going to kind of hold, because there are a couple games I'd like to get your thoughts on, Trista. And I'm looking at Wisconsin and Montana. Wisconsin, a big favorite, and I don't know Montana, they can stand up to that. So I feel that's a safe play, but do I want to burn a 3 seed this early? I don't know anything about High Point. So before I even make this decision, Purdue against High Point, but I look at that line, not so great, but at least I would save some other teams. Your thoughts on those 2 matchups?
Yeah, I like Wisconsin in the opening round because I have no feel on this BYU-VCU game. And I feel like if you're a 3 seed and you play a 6, I might not have the stones to take Wisconsin in that next round. And I certainly wouldn't have the stones to take them up against Alabama. So I think that's a really great pick. And I think High Point could maybe beat Purdue. So I would wait. And there's a possibility that McNeese State can, in terms of the styles, make fights, right? Clemson's one of those slow, plodding teams. And we've seen them last year as well have long scoring droughts. So if you think by any chance that McNeese as a up-tempo team can upset Clemson, then maybe you take Purdue in the next round. So I like Wisconsin. I am a little terrified of High Point, though. A lot of people like High Point to beat Purdue outright.
All right, let's look at that nerd site you were talking about in KenPom and some of these statistics and trends that have happened over the course of many, many years. 88% of Final Four teams were both top 50 in adjusted offense and adjusted defense. And there's a few top teams in this year's tournament that don't fit that criteria. We just talked about 2 of them, BYU and Purdue, also Missouri. Kentucky and St. John's. Are you buying into what Ken Palm is putting out there in terms of this trend enough that you would say, maybe St. John's isn't a Final Four team?
Yeah, and I think what you say, because their offensive rating is 65th in the country for St. John's, and their defensive rating is number 1 in the country.
Right.
The thing about St. John's, and you can say, okay, maybe Final Four is a little steep, but Rick Pitino just wins. Like, I am a Rick Pitino believer. His ability to turn around a team, he's done that everywhere he's gone, right? So and when you look at a team like Kentucky, you've got a new head coach in Mark Pope. You've got some veterans on that team that I don't know necessarily that I trust in a tournament setting against high up-tempo teams, right? You got one kid from San Diego State, and then you got Kirk Kriisa, who came over from Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. So I think Kentucky probably falls more into that category for me that I'm fading than St. John's. But you can also say, okay, St. John's sort of ran through the Big East. Do we trust conference winners to go the distance in their conference tournament and still have the steam as veterans to go deep into the tournament? I'm kind of like a case-by-case basis person in terms of that.
Last one for me on college hoops, Trista, and it's kind of based on what we saw last night. It's not too often you get an 11 seed favored over a 6, but that's what we have. North Carolina giving up 1.5 the site I'm looking at right now against Ole Miss. And the question here about North Carolina, is this a team, are they just going to be unified? Could you see them going on a long run in this tournament?
I don't believe in them, but I will say that a team that's been overlooked and sneaks into the tournament can be dangerous. We saw that last year. Do you guys remember NC State and how they got into the tournament?
Same deal.
They ended up beating Virginia because Virginia missed a free throw, and then they became a Final Four team, and I saw them in Arizona. So sometimes teams that are pretty much dead, when they get a little bit of life and they get some momentum and they end up finding an easier pathway than you would expect for them in their bracket, like I could see it. They're top 20 offense, top 50 defense. And they're a decent three-point shooting team, which is what I like to look at in terms of whether a team can get hot. But, man, like North Carolina's been sort of struggling and hanging on by their fingernails. It wouldn't be a team that I would be surprised about, but it's certainly not a team that I'm going to bet money on or put my bracket on either.
We're examining your bracket with Trista Crick, who also hosts the Heat Check NBA pod. And Trista, we'd be crazy if we didn't tap into some of what you've been watching this year in the NBA and some of your takes on the association as we go down the stretch run here and look forward to what I think is going to be an extremely compelling postseason in the NBA when you look at two young, hungry teams in the West and in the East in Cleveland and OKC with these veteran teams, big market teams that are going to be fighting them to try and get to the finals. Just your overall take on what we've had so far this season and what we have coming ahead for us here in the NBA.
Yeah, I think this NBA season has been super fun because there's a bunch of teams that we didn't expect to be somewhat in the top 4 of their conference, top 5, right? Like the trade for Jimmy Butler has transformed the Warriors. They're 8-2 in their last 10. I think they only lost 1 or 2 games with Jimmy Butler in the lineup since that trade deadline. So they've been completely invigorated, and Steph feels like a different guy and feels like he's confident that this team has enough to go deep in the playoffs. And I think obviously the Luka Doncic trade invigorated LeBron as well. So 2 aging superstars that have been frustrated with how their front offices have been operating, and then they end up making big swings at the deadline, which is not something that either team is really known to do. And they were kind of on life support, so that's fascinating. In the West, the Rockets being second in that conference after being dead in the water and having to rebuild after the James Harden trade. I find that to be very, very interesting. And then the same thing can be said for the Detroit Pistons, which are right now just the 6th seed, but they're only a game out of the 4 seed, right? The Pacers are at 17 and a half games back of the Cavs, which is wild, and the Pistons are 18 and a half games back. So you look at the Pistons, who had 14 wins last year, 17 wins the year before, and now they're on pace to have 40, 45 wins, is insane. I don't know why more people aren't talking about J.B. Bickerstaff as Coach of the Year, probably because the Cavs are ahead of the 1 seed by 6.5 games right now, and they've been kind of coming out. Evan Mobley's been reinvigorated, and he looks awesome. So I think that there's a lot of teams that we didn't necessarily expect to make the playoffs that could be at least pesky in the first round and make things difficult, right? If you were to see the Pistons play the Bucks, I wouldn't, or the Pistons, say the Pistons are the 5 seed, the Bucks are the 4 seed, or vice versa. Who knows? Like, I think that's a first round that the Bucks don't really want. And the same could be said for the Knicks as well. Like, I don't know if the Knicks want to get into a rock fight with the Detroit Pistons. So a lot of fascinating matchups. And I'm obviously surprised about how the Mavericks and the Suns have operated. A lot of people had high hopes for them, and they're just sort of staying on their fingernails to try to even get into the play-in.
This is like catching up with an old friend, Trista Crick, who I haven't seen. I got to meet her, Danger, a couple years ago when Trista was in Buffalo for the playoff game. And a couple things I always remember about Trista, me and technology, looking at my phone, using the GPS, trying to find you in the parking lot. And then how cold it was that day, and I felt terrible for you because, like, okay, I got to go stand somewhere else here. This is not worth it here. Playoff Buffalo. Have you warmed up from that day, Trista?
It's funny because I wasn't sure if that was like a really cold Buffalo day or if that was just a normal winter Buffalo day, right? So the fact that you're telling me that day stuck out for you as a premier cold day in the arena is better, and it's heartwarming for me.
Difference between Gene and I. I mean, like, Gene is soft over here. Like, I hear people from down south talk about how cold it's been and how miserable this winter has been. I'm like, you have no idea. You haven't been through anything.
That's one of the coldest days of my life. Honestly, that was one of the. I thought maybe I was soft. I was like, wow. It took me hours to warm up. I was hiding in the not the concession area, but the area where they sell all the merchandise. Yeah. And the woman kept kicking me out because she was like, if you're not going to buy anything, you can't just mill around here and use our heat. It was, and the fact that the wind comes through from the outside, and there's no real shelter inside of that stadium. Yeah. And you just like, how? What? Why? I don't know how you guys put up with it. I went the next year as well. It was very cold then. And to me, it felt like, well, maybe Buffalo in the fall is a better call than Buffalo during the playoffs.
Buffalo in the fall is elite, but, playoff football in Western New York is
the best.
It's special. Yeah. It is a special time. And you know what? Next year we'll have a new stadium to talk about too, Trista. So maybe the amenities will be more up to date, and we can at least attempt to keep you a little bit more warm in the month of January.
I don't think that's completely covered to the elements, is it? Either.
It's not a dome, but what's the percentage of fans that will be safe?
About 60% of the fans, but then the concourse will have the warming areas, Trista. You'll be out of the elements if you want to go and grab a snack or something. So
that was the insane thing to me was the concourse. Yeah. I couldn't get past the fact that the concourse just felt like I was in my seat.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a stadium built in the 60s, and they didn't really have the amenities that, and they never really accounted for the amenities that exist in most NFL stadiums today.
That's why you guys are built tough.
Yeah, that's right. Trista, it's great catching up with you. Let everybody know about where we can get more of your work. We talked about the heat check. It's just great hearing your voice back on the Fan.
Yeah, get wherever you get your podcast, the Heat Check, Apple, Spotify, what have you. Go on Instagram, follow me there. That's where I put a lot of my takes up. And guys, you guys are my ride with you. I ride with Buffalo. I was just on WGR. Please sign up for my Survivor contest. It's my first one I've hosted myself. I'm trying to not make a fool of myself in front of Splash Sports. So go to Splash Sports or go to the link in my bio and sign up. $50 buy-in. You guys have PJ Glasser on. I said to WGR that the winner of my Survivor will get PJ's Fubo login.
Oh.
So I'll get.
Does PJ know this? How do you have PJ's Fubo logo? I have a lot of questions here.
We share it, but we just keep it at my house. So until he changes the password, that the winner of this Survivor contest will get a jersey the money, and PJ Glasser's Fubo login.
You're the absolute best, Trista. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for joining us, and let's do it again real soon.
Love you guys. Talk to you soon.
You got it. There's Trista Crick. Go check out her profile on Instagram and log in for that Bracket Survivor. That's a lot of fun.
I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna have like the big build up here. My pick is going to be Wisconsin for those reasons. I think they'll get by Montana. I'm not 100% sure they'll get to the Sweet 16. Let me use a 3 seed while I can. And these are actual tears of laughter because can you just picture like, wait a second. I know they're both radio people. PJ and Trista sharing a Fubo account.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
How and why?
I would love.
We gotta play.
I would
that
love
back.
to win that just so I could cancel my Fubo subscription and milk PJ and Trista's Fubo account. That would be awesome. Save myself $100 a month and just log in under PJ's username and password. Now I'm motivated. I don't care about the cash. I want the password.
I want the password.
Yeah, that's it.
Give me the password.
That's very good. Love having Trista on with us. Long overdue, and hopefully we get the chance to talk with her here throughout the course of the NBA postseason. Heat Check is great if you're an NBA fan. Podcast definitely worth your time. Ryan Horvat, BetMGM tonight. We'll continue talking some brackets next on The Fan.
Paint dry? Wake up with Maggie and Perloff on 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan Rochester. Weekday mornings via the Odyssey app. And make getting out of bed your favorite part of the day. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
LA Dodgers now 2-0 on the season. LA over the Cubs 6-3. Shohei Ohtani with his first home run of the season. Opening day stateside next Thursday. Tomorrow, opening day of the NCAAs. But before we get to that, more playing games tonight. Xavier in Texas, one of those matchups. Sean Miller, the head coach of Xavier.
I think Rodney Terry and his team, they pride themselves on the defensive end. Tough-minded defense. I think they do an outstanding job there. We respect the league they came from. We respect them a great deal. And I think for us, we have to play at our best to have an opportunity to beat them.
Ryan Horvat, BetMGM tonight. He joins us next year in the Sports Bar. We got St. John Fisher Lacrosse, the Cardinals hosting third-ranked RIT. Our coverage will begin at 7. The Amherst hosting Charlotte on Friday. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
All right, tournament gets underway tomorrow. We're doing our last-minute cram session here to learn as much as we can about this bracket, make some informed pick with us this week to talk a little bit about the tournament. How you been?
I've been good. I probably disagree with everything that Winkler said, even though I love him. But, yeah, I've been good, man. My favorite time of the year. Not only do we get March Madness, which I love, but also we get NFL draft props. And I got to be honest, I love betting the NFL draft because you're betting information rather than 18 and 19-year-old kids to make free throws down the stretch. Every March, man, these spreads get a little tighter and tighter, but I still love it.
Oh, my gosh. Ryan, you're here. But we do have tomorrow, we do have these matchups. I'll just kind of start with a general question, Ryan. As I'm going through all these exercises, I feel like I'm leaning chalk. Is this more of a chalky year, or is that a trap here?
It's funny, man, because usually I pick a ton of upsets, right? And we watch a lot of mid-major college basketball on our show because we're on the air, 7 to 11 p.m. Eastern every single night, Monday through Friday at least. So I fall in love with a lot of these teams. But what the committee always does to me is they take, like, the 2 or 3 teams, 4 teams that I really like, and they pair them against each other. Like BYU, for example, all these Mountain West teams always get a terrible draw. So I'm with you. I honestly, I think it is going to be the majority chalk here because the good teams are really good, man. Like the SEC this season, I don't think there's going to be a letdown from a team like Tennessee because they're the best defense in the country. I know Auburn's kind of limping into the tourney. Spoiler alert, I kind of like them to win it, right? Like Duke's not going to get tripped up until at least the Elite Eight, I wouldn't think. So I'm picking a lot of favorites where usually I'm looking for some upsets. Like, don't get me wrong, I do have a couple upset picks. I do think that there's some paper tigers, some fraudulent teams. But I'm with you. Like, when I do pick the Elite Eight, man, even the Final Four, I keep going back to my bracket, and I got all 1 seeds. Yeah. So I try to be different, throw in like a 4 seed. But I keep going back to these top teams. Florida's so dang good, and Auburn's so good, and Duke's so good. Oh, and they get Cooper Flagg back for the tournament, who's going to be the number 1 overall pick. So I think it's going to be a chalky tournament. So watch. It's probably going to be like, a Final Four of all 6 seeds or something like that.
Yeah, and I know you guys probably, regurgitate all of the trends and all of the stats and everything that leads into making an educated pick. When you're looking at this bracket, 88% of Final Four teams that were top 50 in both adjusted offense and defense, dating back to, I want to say 2002, have made it to the Final Four. And there's a few teams, 5 teams, that don't fit that criteria this year. And they're teams that, we've talked about, BYU, Purdue, Kentucky, Missouri, St. John's. Do you buy into that trend? Do you buy into that stat? And do you think that some of these teams might see an early exit, even though a team like St. John's comes in with a lot of heat?
I do, man, because I think what happens, right, like St. John's is tough for me to bet against because it's Rick Pitino, and I've done it a couple times this season. Like I took Shaka Smart and Marquette on their senior day as 2.5-point favorites in a game that meant nothing for St. John's, and they still won that game even though they had the Big East wrapped up. is just, I don't know what it is with them, man. But what worries me is they don't shoot the three all that well, but they defend, and they're really well coached, obviously. But I could see them getting tripped up. And then, like teams like BYU that are outside the top 50 in every defensive metric, I just don't trust them. I do buy into that criteria, man. That's why I like Duke, because they defend for 40 minutes. The only reason I kind of walk back my Duke pick and I'm not picking them in my brackets is because I think I saw 60 or 70% of brackets, man, are all picking Duke to win it all. The other popular team is Florida. I wish I would have bought into Florida before the year. They were 80-1, I believe, to win it all. Now they're the second favorite or the favorite in some shops, right behind Duke. But you got to be able to defend, man. That's why, Auburn, I know they're kind of out, I think they're right outside the top 15 defensively, and it may be even further than that because they didn't really play all that well down the stretch. And Broom was hurt. But I really like them. I like Duke. I like Florida. And then Houston this year, don't sleep on Houston. I know usually they're a little bit of a letdown and they get knocked out in the Sweet 16 Elite Eight, but I really like Kelvin Sampson. And this year, not only are they a top 3 defensive team, but they can also shoot the three, man, and they can actually hit free throws. So I feel like we're kind of sleeping on Houston a little bit comparing to them to previous teams, when I like this team a little bit more than I have the last couple of years.
Ryan Horvat, who you hear on BetMGM tonight, weeknights here on The Fan. Ryan, one team, and one guy we have on with us every week, PJ Glasser. We love PJ, and he highlighted this team. And round one, it wouldn't be an upset for St. Mary's to defeat Vanderbilt. St. Mary's is a favorite, but it's a team that none of us have watched, right? You were just looking at the numbers. But St. Mary's and their style of play going up against potentially Alabama in the second round. Could St. Mary's be one of these teams that none of us know about getting to the Sweet 16?
Yeah, I think they can, but also I'm a really big fan of St. Mary's. The conference is tough, right? Because it's pretty much them and Gonzaga every year meeting in the championship game. But this St. Mary's team is good. Everybody has fallen in love with the Zags because they're a top 15 KenPom team, even though they've been a little disappointing this season. But St. Mary's in the regular season beat them twice. They lost in the championship game, but it's so hard to beat a team 3 times in one season, especially a rival team that's as talented as Gonzaga. But I like them. They play at a slower pace. I really like their coach, Randy Bennett. And I think this year's team is more athletic than last year's team and the team before that, because I always like them coming into the tournament. The problem is, though, you go back and you have to watch the non-con stuff, the non-conference schedule stuff, and those are 2 different teams. You know what I mean? Duke, even in the beginning of the year, is a totally different team than they are right now, and it's so tough to kind of see what you have with a team like Gonzaga even, or St. Mary's, just because they don't really play anybody. But I do like them, and I don't trust Alabama. I like Nate Oates, the head coach, but right now they're kind of beat up, and they live and die by that 3 ball. And they don't defend well enough for me. So I can see a team like St. Mary's beating a team like Alabama.
I want to go back to Gonzaga because I feel like every year we talk about that team, and every year you believe this is the year. Is this the year that Gonzaga gets beyond the Sweet 16? We know that they could get to the Sweet 16. Are they a sleeper to make it out of the Midwest? Do you think the Zags have the chance to get to the Final Four here?
I'm going to say no, not this year. Now, I really like their starting point guard, Nebhard. It seems like he's been there for 6 years because his brothers, obviously, who are in the NBA. But he averages about 10 assists per game. He protects the basketball. They have athletes, and Mark Few's obviously a great coach. But I don't really like the path for them. I do like them in the first round. The problem is I don't even want to bet them because the spread is 6 now. And that's asking them to win by 3 possessions. That's asking them to win by margin. I do think that they win the game, but I just think the number's gotten a little out of hand. I don't think this is the year, man. I think this isn't like the team with Drew Timme or Chet Holmgren. They're good, but they're not great, and I don't think they make it past the second round, to be honest. I think they're a really trendy, underdog pick right now. I think they make it past the first round and then get beat up in the second round. I don't think they play enough defense.
So things that we've learned from you, your show, and others, that emotions shouldn't be part of betting. And here's where I'm going with this, Ryan, because emotionally here in Western New York and a lot of cities around the East, we love the Big East. Like in Syracuse, I wish they were still in the Big East, and I miss those days, and I miss those matchups. And oh my gosh, look who's back in the Big East. It's Rick Pitino. And even though I never liked St. John's, this is a lot of fun. And my gosh, the Johnnies, this is what a coach should be in basketball. We're all pulling. And now I see all the public money going on St. John's, and you probably know the stats better than I do. Is that logic with football when you see the public going one way, like we tap on the brakes? Is this actually a warning, or we don't worry about that if everybody's in on St. John's here?
So I don't worry about it, right? Like you never so you don't really want to be on the side as the public, right? If like 99% of the bets are on one team, you usually don't want to be on that side because there's a reason why in Las Vegas there's castles and these big casinos and hotels and celebrities, and there's a lot of broke people that thought that they could, scheme the book, or they thought that their model was better than the sports book. But I'll be honest, man, I don't really care, right? Like if I'm on the same side as the public and I've done my research, I've run my numbers, and the eye test just tells me I like this team, then I like them. I mean, last year is a great example. Everybody was betting UConn. They were the number one public bet. In every tournament game, they covered. And you couldn't make the spread big enough. Even in the championship game, I want to say the number was like 8.5 or something like that. They won the game by double digits, I believe. So some years, chalk just wins, and these good teams win. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs. I know they finally got tripped up this year, but I like St. John's because of coaching. There's going to be a lot of public money on teams like Michigan State because of Tom Izzo, St. John's because of Pitino, right? And those are the teams that win national championships, though, right? That's why, like, every year we rip Calipari, we rip certain guys because they can't get the job done. Matt Painter. Every year it seems like the same guys are there in the Final Four. So I don't care if the public's on it. If you like St. John's, you're cheering for them, I'd bet them. For example, man, Illinois, what a disappointment they've been at times, but they're just so talented, and I like them. So I took a shot on them to make the Final Four. I also live in Maryland now, so we go to some of these games. I love their players, man. Like Queen, I think he's going to be an absolute stud. I can see Maryland either – as crazy as it sounds, losing to Grand Canyon in the first round, which a lot of people like as an upset pick, or I could see him making a run to the Final Four. That's what I love about college hoops this year. I think we know who, the Final Four should be, or the Final Six teams, but I think there's going to be some surprises here. So I don't really care where the public's at. I like, just sticking with my own side.
All right, so along those lines, because you mentioned earlier that the majority of the brackets are going on Duke as your national champion, and when you drill down on Ken Palm, this is a team that is top 5, both offense and defense. There's only been 7. 6 of them have been champions. The other team actually lost in the championship. So even with an ailing Cooper flag, is Duke the safest of all picks? I would imagine even though you might not be taking them, the answer is probably still, yeah, they're a safe pick.
I'm going to say they're the safest pick because I think they have the easiest path to the Final Four. And if you get to the Final Four, then you have – you look at if you're running a bracket, if you get 2-3 teams in the Final Four, you're looking pretty good, obviously. But the only reason I'm going a little bit different is because I figure everybody probably in most of the pools is going to have Duke. So the only thing that scares me about them, man, great defensive team, great offensive team. They just won the ACC championship without Cooper Flagg, who, again, is going to be the number 1 overall pick. They're only better with him on the floor. Also, I really like John Shire. Broom's going to be, if he's not the player of the year, he's right behind Cooper, right? And then they have their 3 leading scorers are all seniors. You look at Duke, all their players, they're pretty much freshmen. I know they went in the portal and they got some veteran players, but that's the only thing that scares me, man, is they're young. In the last couple of years, we've seen these veteran teams, right? Like the mid-major teams that I pick, they're all 4 or 5 year players because it's just different. Like being an 18-year-old and a 23, 24-year-old grown man that understands how to play within a system, with good coaching especially. So that's why I like Auburn, but I do think Duke's the safest pick because of their path. Florida's the best team, but their path stinks, man.
And last one for me, Ryan, and it's about my question's about North Carolina, the most divisive team in this tournament, fair to say. And there they look like they belong last night, and now they're actually a favorite by points against a 6 in Ole Miss. What are your thoughts on the Tar Heels? How far could they go, or will this just be a one and done here?
So I've been arguing back and forth with my co-host and pretty much like everybody that we've had on for 2 months now, because I was telling everybody North Carolina is getting in. If North Carolina has 22 wins, man, they're getting in. And everybody's like, oh, they got one quad one win, Ken Palm, Lenardi, throwing all this stuff at me. And I'm like, no. I've been watching college hoops like you guys have for 3 decades now. I know how this goes. North Carolina, Kentucky, these blue blood schools, if there's even a doubt, they're getting in. There's somebody in that committee that has some ties or something like that. But anyway, now that they're in, man, I honestly think that they at least win another game. I really like them against Ole Miss. I love Chris Beard, but I just don't like the team. And then I wouldn't be surprised if they made a run to the Elite Eight, the Final Four. Here's the thing. I know Cooper Flagg wasn't playing, but if they don't have that free throw violation and they beat Duke, what's the narrative about this team? You know, like what's their spreads looking like? So I think they're a really talented team. They've just been a huge letdown. And what's funny about it is last year they were kind of disappointing and they made a deep run. I think it was Jeff Goodman ripped them, and then Hubert Davis used that as motivation. They made a run to the championship game, and then Hubert Davis even said, yeah, I just used your guys' press clippings all year. Watch them do the same thing. So I kind of like them to go on a run now that we've let them in, man.
Ryan, it's been great having you on with us. We appreciate you giving us the time that you do, and we also appreciate the work that you do every night on the BetMGM Network and BetMGM Tonight, especially since you got the big noise next to you as well. How's that been going for you? And we'll be looking forward to hearing you, of course, you mentioned it earlier, 7 to 11, Monday through Friday.
It's been going good. It'll be going a lot better if my upset pick, VCU, beats BYU in the first round. VCU is a top 30 Ken Palm team. Nobody's giving them any respect. Love Brad, but we're going head-to-head on that one. And then I'm not buying into the hype, guys. I'm betting Michigan. They have 2 7-footers and Dusty Mays, their head coach. But we'll be live betting these games. The show's been going great, obviously, with Brad, but I do want to beat him in our head-to-heads this week.
I love it.
Yeah, you want to win. Ryan, appreciate it. We'll check it out tonight. Thanks for your time, bud.
Thanks, guys.
You got it. There's Ryan Horvat. You can hear him tonight after St. John Fisher Lacrosse.
Yeah, so this is the cross-rival matchup here, crosstown rivalry. RIT heading to Fisher tonight, men's lacrosse. And could you ask for a better night in March? It's exquisite.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like late April, not late March here.
I haven't looked at the forecast. I don't know what exactly we have in front of us.
It's crappy next week, so get out there and enjoy it tonight.
Okay. Well, let's make sure we do that then. And while we're talking about the tournament, tomorrow is going to be a great day. We're live. We always look forward to this day. Live from the tap room at Bill Gray's in Chilai Avenue for day 1 of the tournament. The madness begins, and we are there as a part of it.
Yeah, we will be there doing our show from 3 to 6. The tap room at Bill Gray's tomorrow. You can chow down, too. They're offering their Thursday special, dozen wings for $12. Jenny Light specials, $3 pints, $9 pitchers.
9 times.
Yeah, tell me that doesn't work for you.
How much wing sauce am I going to get on my laptop is the question. I mean, like, we're doing the show. I'm mowing on some wings. My fingers are just covered in sauce, and I'm pushing buttons on my laptop. My laptop is going to get a workout tomorrow.
I want to say Derek last year ordered the wings, and he had a whole separate table to the next to us. And, like, that's tough when we're on the air talking, and you can't talk and eat at the same time.
No, nobody
show.
wants to hear us mowing on wings live on the radio. I'm just saying my fingers might get a little, I might get some wing sauce on my fingers at some point tomorrow afternoon and just make an absolute mess of myself. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Tomorrow, we will be live. Again, the tap room at Bill Gray's, the Chilai Avenue location. We're coming to the west side, and we want to hang out with you tomorrow for day 1 of the NCAA tournament. We also want to give you free tickets, and there's another great show coming to CMAC. We're talking about the Black Keys on Saturday, August 30th, all courtesy of the Bowery Presents. If you would like to get tickets to that show, they go on sale Friday morning at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. But you can win them before you can buy them right now. If you're caller 5 at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326 for a free pair of tickets to see the Black Keys at CMAC Saturday, August 30th from the Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Baseball now coming back stateside as the Dodgers complete the two-game sweep in Tokyo. 6-3 the final from this morning. Shohei Ohtani, his first home run of the season. Opening day of the NCAA is tomorrow. Before we get to that, though, first for tonight, Xavier and Texas, the headline matchup. Buffalo Bills freeing up cap space, reworking the deal. Linebacker Matt Milano, Brownie, and Tasker offering their thoughts.
I think we have to at least prepare ourselves for the possibility that this is the final season of Matt Milano in a Bills uniform.
I think it's a win-win for both sides. Milano gets a chance to prove himself, and he gets a chance to cash in on it if he does. Smart move by both sides. Him taking the pay cut to helping the team out and to help get better around him.
Big-time matchup locally in lacrosse tonight. St. John Fisher hosting RIT. Our coverage will begin at 7. Gene Battaglia, sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Let's talk March Madness and have a few laughs.
Nothing ever lives up to the hype except March Madness. Something or nothing happened with the Vikings and Aaron Rodgers today.
J.J. McCarthy.
It was good, baby. Mike Danger.
We kind of said, you know what, let's do it differently. Let's do something that isn't like what sports talk in Rochester has been like for many, many years, but have a take. Don't suck. Add something to the conversation that we maybe have forgotten or missed. Enhance it. Make it better for everybody.
Gene Battaglia.
Very simple lesson. You are responsible for the position you are in.
Correct. I love this lesson.
You are responsible for this. It's your responsibility, and this is your plan? Okay.
Only my Cubs could go into the regular season 0-2. They're the only team in history that goes into the regular season 0-2. Idiotic.
The Sports Smoothie Bar moving forward.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
I like the passion for Bill Ryder, and look, I didn't have high expectations for the Cubs in Japan. What I like about the Dodgers winning again today, 157-win season still on the table.
Only 155 to go, Dave.
That's right. That's right. They're going to win 157 games this season in Major League Baseball because of their $9.7 trillion payroll. The Dodgers, most of that is deferred, but the Dodgers will win 157 games this season. There's your preseason.
You knew as a Cub fan that was going to happen, right? The Dodgers in their second home are not going to go over there.
No, of course. But I still have some expectations for the Cubs this year in that division. Good team.
You're going to like Kyle Tucker.
Yeah.
He's going to have a big year heading to free agency next year.
We welcome you to Happy Hour here in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. I spent a lot of time last hour talking college basketball, breaking down the bracket. Ryan Horvat from BetMGM tonight was fantastic. Trista Crick, the Heat Check, she was great as well, introducing us to Survivor brackets.
Yes, and I'm not going to get all worked up like I do in football season because that workup it's really emotional. So we're just going to try this out. You can only pick one team per day, not per round, per day. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So of the Thursday matchups, my choice will be number 3 Wisconsin over number 14 Montana. Now, this is where it differentiates from Survivor football because you know what I say about savers in the NFL? I say savers are losers. And
right.
Whoever that best bet is, I think we know who are some of these teams that are going to be in the Elite Eight. Do we want to burn up all those teams in the Elite Eight? Well, then you might not have anybody left to pick. So the strategy is going to be a little different. It's a totally different game, so I'm not being hypocritical. But along those lines, too, St. John's, I could see them getting to the Sweet 16. It would be good to kind of save them a little bit, too.
Trista also pointing us in the direction of her pool. You can go to her Instagram. And the link is there for you to join in. And why I bring it up is because if you win, not only is there some cash, but you get to share a password, a Fubo password, with Trista and PJ Glasser, which I didn't realize they were sharing a Fubo password, but I want that access. Give me PJ's Fubo password, and I can save myself, $100 a month.
Yeah, Jack writing in. I heard Gene say he got to meet Trista at a Bills game, so I guess he was working. So we assume that he big-timed her? No, Jack. I did not big-time Trista.
Careful, Jack, because Gene will hit you over the head with your name isn't real.
I saw his license. Jack is the real guy that came up, pulled out his wallet, said, "Here."
Jack is a real
Jack
name?
is a real name. That
Okay.
was his real given name.
Very good. You didn't. You actually didn't big time Trista. You went above and beyond to try and meet up with Trista, where she gave you the location, the pin drop on the phone, and you had to like find her in a sea of people that were tailgating before a playoff game.
Yeah, because the funny thing about that pin drop danger is that it's not exactly 100% reliable. Yeah, you can be on the same block, but it's really kind of tough, especially when you have the snow coming down and I'm walking around in a circle and Trista.
Yeah.
Trista.
Loved having her on, though. It was great having our old friend Trista Crick on to break down the bracket. Ryan Horvat as well. If you missed either conversation, if you're a podcast listener, we're there for you. Just search out the Sports Bar wherever you get your shows, including the free-to-download Odyssey app. And if you are listening in the free-to-download Odyssey app, you can always go back with chapters and listen to any part of the show you may have missed. The 4 o'clock hour, chock full of bracket advice if you're cramming and filling out your bracket tonight before the action gets underway tomorrow.
Happy birthday to Sports Bar favorite Terrible Take, Timmy. Turns, I don't know how old today, but
yeah, if you're going to do it for him, you have to say it the right way. It's birthday.
Birthday.
Yeah.
He is working tonight, so good on him. He's not one of these guys like, oh, it's my birthday.
Oh, no, I'm sure he's going out after he's done working.
Oh,
I'm sure
right.
that that's in his future. My favorite was, and I, I'll wish him a happy birthday here live on the air, but I was scrolling through my feed on Facebook, and one of his friends posted a picture that she said was her favorite picture of Terrible Take Timmy, and it was a filter of a foot over his face. So his face was filtered through a foot. His face looks like a foot, and I think it's perfect. I think it is absolutely perfect. In fact, buddy, I think it's your new profile pic. Go ahead, lean into it. Your face looks like a foot. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Terrible Take Timmy.
And Timmy, I know you're not listening. Don't let Bonaventure ruin your day. It's the NIT, so you lost to the NIT.
I would go as far as to say let it go.
Let it go.
I would go as far as to say let it go. Let it go. I'm sure Timmy was wearing his banana suit watching the game in the NIT. Let it go. It's okay.
Well,
best 4 years of your life. Get it. Understood. Time to let it go.
Here's a take that's going to piss you off and some others, okay?
Good takes do that.
Well, you tell me if it's a good take. If we had a power rankings of collegiate fan bases that come off as a cult, I'd put Bonaventure's number 2. The Bonnie bubble is something there, and if you're in, you're in. If you're out, number 1 on the list is Penn State. You guys are a cult. Penn State cult.
You guys, what, you just looping me in because my niece goes there?
Yes.
I would put Duke at number 1 on that list. Duke by far is number 1 on that list.
Cult.
Absolute cult. Duke by far number 1 on that list. I'm not going to argue with you on Penn State. It is something. Happy Valley is something. They've figured something out. They've got something going on down there. And maybe that's it. Maybe that's all it is. Because
Tennessee cult.
Because it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
It's its own kind of self-sustaining environment, and you're forced to be within the boundaries of this small town atmosphere. But Duke, to me, like any person I've met who went to Duke and is a fan of Duke, it is next level cult feeling to me. And I've got a handful of people that I know that have gone to Duke.
See, that's funny. I've known just one person who've gone to Duke.
Yeah, they are. Duke to me feels the biggest cult of them all. Bonnie's, I can't say much. I know that Timmy likes to hold on to his 4 years at St. Bonaventure, and my thing is like, okay, it's good, but I can say
he still has his Bonnie's email address.
I know he's got the banana costume that he used to wear at basketball games. My brother-in-law's the same thing. I could tell my brother-in-law, hey, it was a long time ago that he went to school. Time to let it go. But it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. It's part of your identity. It's part of what you're known for. And there's nothing wrong with that. Happy birthday, Terrible Take Timmy, who you'll get the chance to work with later tonight. Big St. John Fisher lacrosse tonight against RIT here on the Fan Rochester.
Yeah, the RIT has dominated this series. But going back 3 of the last 4 of these matchups have been 1-goal games. So love me some lacrosse here on the Fan Danger.
Tomorrow on the Sports Bar from 3 until 6, we will be live for day 1 of the tournament from the tap room at Bill Gray's on Chilai Avenue. And it's become one of our favorite days on the sports calendar. Love that we're able to get to the west side and really appreciate our gracious hosts there at Bill Gray's on Chilai Ave for having us as all the action is unfolding. They've got great specials happening, including $9 pitchers of Jenny.
9 times.
So we invite you to come out and join us tomorrow afternoon live for the action.
Yeah, look, come on. You can come for dinner. You can come cut out a little bit. You can hang out the whole time. I think, Pizza Dude will be setting up around 1 o'clock or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, there'll be some of these characters that you know and love, including Pizza Dude. They'll have some prizes there, too, because prizes always make it more fun. Bill Gray's Tap Room, Chilai Avenue, tomorrow. Sports Bar is live. Westsiders, no excuse. I want to see you there.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
I helped my daughter with her bracket last night. I don't know anything because I haven't really watched or paid attention to a lot of college basketball this year. And I know you were telling me yesterday, you know what, this is a lesson for her. She should learn how to fill out a bracket on her own without your help. And you're right. And I feel like while I helped her, I really, more than anything, wanted to teach her, hey, you don't have to be an expert to fill this thing out, but you should do a little bit of research. And I directed her in the direction of our good friend Ken Palm and kind of explained how this all works.
Well, before you get to that, that take I had, I got to modify a little bit because I had no idea what kind of pool your daughter was in. I thought it was just one of these office pools, right? $5 you're in.
It is an office pool.
It is, but it's a little different. And I'm walking by the Buzz Studios this morning, and Scott Spazzano, if you lived in Rochester, you know Scott Spazzano, right? He does the show with Danger's wife, Sandy. And I hear my name. I'm like, what? Okay, the on-air's light is. I'm like, oh, my gosh, they're calling me for to go on the air. Okay, open up the door. Okay, waves me in. Jane. Now, the tournament, it starts today. I'm like, well, the playing games are tonight, but the real thing starts tomorrow. Well, tell me if you've ever heard a pool like this. This was the detail you didn't tell me, Danger. Your daughter's company is offering cash prizes with no buy-in. Of course she wants to play it. Of course she's asking for advice. She wants to win her pool.
I didn't know this until last night. It was like the last thing she said. I'm like, what's the buy-in for this? She's like, what do you mean buy-in? I'm like, well, you got to put $20, $50. What's the buy-in? She's like, what do you mean? There's no buy-in. I just fill it out. I'm like, wait, you just fill it out? You're going to win a couple $100 if you win? She's like, yeah. And it's not a big company. Like there's maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 people. And I'm like, all right, let's do this. So I introduced her to our friend Ken Palm and kind of share some of the trends and help her try to navigate what teams might end up. What I learned from doing the exercise with her is that this year does, to me, feel a little bit chalkier, that the good teams are good and that there's going to be upsets as there always are, but there are some teams that have kind of separated from the pack.
Well, usually you just go to KenPom and then you click on I go by defensive rating because defense will not get in a slump. You can have a bad shooting night, bye-bye, but you can hustle, you can play defense. Defense does not slump, but if you can get that team that is also in the top 10 in offense, well, that's gold. Usually the arrows will point you in one direction. We got 3 of these teams this year. You've got Florida, okay, at top offense, number 9 defense. You've got Houston, number 10 offense, number 2 defense. Hey, that's a tough conference too. But then you have Duke, 3rd offense, 4 defense. Even without perhaps Cooper Flag 100%, and maybe you soft pedal that a little bit this weekend, Duke should breeze through to the Sweet 16, and then another week of rest for Flag, Rush, Cup. How many Coopers are there in sport?
Cooper Flag. I already have Cooper Flag fatigue. I've mentioned it. I'm going to continue to mention it because we're going to hear his name so much, and he's not even playing. The hack that you're describing with Duke here, top 5, both offense and defense. There's only been 7. 6 of them have been champions. The other team lost in the championship. So I know that it's chalk, and I know that a lot of people are going to have them winning their bracket, and some people want to zig when others zag. But Duke feels like the answer. Duke feels like the pick to win it all.
And knowing that, sure, these are now paid, finger quote, student athletes, but they're still young guys. They're still going through a lot of this stuff the first time. And to be kind of put down the way North Carolina was. You don't belong here. You only here because Daddy let you in the tournament. And then to see them mow over their opponent last night, and now they're actually a favorite against Ole Miss. And then if they get Iowa State, oh my gosh, danger. I see that team at least going to the Sweet 16. I see them going facing Michigan State. Like, honestly, North Carolina, this happens every year. The team in the play-in round, we don't pay attention to the Tuesday or Wednesday games, but all you have to do is kind of look at history here, and that would suggest that North Carolina, good chance that they're going to kind of embarrass some people in this tournament.
Now, you and I might differ a little bit on St. John's, and I think we all like the story that's happening with St. John's. We all like the story that's happening with Rick Pitino. Clearly, he can coach, right? But they are a team that don't fit that criteria that we were talking about earlier, that since 2002, there have been, 88% of Final Four teams were top 50 in both adjusted offense and adjusted defense. St. John's really, really good defensively, 65th in adjusted offense.
That's a problem.
Yes.
That's a problem. So is St. John's going to beat Omaha? Yes. There's also something, too, if you apply it like the betting logic. Now, Ryan Horvath did not agree with me on this take, but it was one of those, okay, I'm a square. And when the public money, I read at one book, Danger, it's going as high as 78% of the dollars on St. John's, just betting this straight up. Okay, that's always a red flag in anything if Vegas isn't adjusting. St. John's feels like the emotional team, particularly if you are like my age, when you remember the Big East, when it meant something, when you had John Thompson and Raleigh, all these guys. And here's Pitino 2.0, a team we didn't like, but you can respect Pitino. You can respect St. John's. This is a lot of fun. Oh, and he's wearing a suit? This is a throwback. Yeah. He's going to wear the white suit? All right. I'm all for St. John's. It feels like an emotional pick. Now, there's nothing wrong if you're like, you know what? I'm fully in. Let me have some fun and let me just pick St. John's because I like them. I'm not saying don't do that, but just understand why you might be doing that. To me, it's an emotional pick.
And the odds would say, based on this trend that I just shared, that they would be on the outside of the Final Four looking in, for what that's worth. There's a 12% chance that they could get in based on this trend that dates back to 2002. Kentucky, I know, is a team that PJ thinks is going to lose in the opening round, right? That was his pick earlier.
Troy as a 14. And, right, like Kentucky, would that surprise anybody again? Mind you, it's not Calipari anymore,
right.
But it still is, all right, guys, collection of you, go out. Also, PJ likes St. Mary's. So St. Mary's in that conference was Gonzaga, and Gonzaga always gets the run. But St. Mary's plays that slow style, and if they slow it down and they play good defense, can the other team, Alabama feels like they're ripe. That would be my, it's not a major upset, but I could see a 7 seed, St. Mary's, eventually getting by Alabama and getting to the Sweet 16.
Now, Alabama in the East, 4th in offense, 32nd in defense. So they fit the criteria, could make themselves a run. But then, yeah, you're right. I mean, every now and then a team comes around and plays a style that you're not used to, and it throws you off completely. But in that region, in the East, it sure feels like Duke would be the best bet to advance, even with Cooper Flagg missing some time.
Let's examine some of these games tomorrow, Danger, on Thursday when we're going to be out again. Taproom Bill Graves tomorrow. Sports Bar is live 3 to 6. We watch the games together. We'll have 2 1 seeds. Houston against, I don't even know who the school is. Edwardsville. Every year there's some school like, that's a school? You're kidding me. Auburn over Alabama State, you would figure. But, okay, now we get Clemson, McNeese State. VCU, BYU, that should be a lot of fun. That's at 4:05. Gonzaga, Georgia, that's fun, 4:35. And then the rest of the games are in the evening. Before these games should be wrapped up by the time we hit the air. We got an 8-9 matchup, Louisville-Creighton to start everything off tomorrow. We have High Point against Purdue. Trista Crick is like, no, don't go anywhere near this game, even though Purdue is a 7.5-point favorite. They're a team that actually lost a few years ago as a top seed. And you have Wisconsin, Montana, bringing back this full circle, Danger. That is my survivor pick. One game we can pick tomorrow, and by the time we hit the air, I am going to be relaxed knowing that I have advanced to the next day. Book it now! Thank me by the time we hit the air. Yes! I'm getting worked up. Yes!
Gino, what, because it happens every year, where do you see the 12-5? Where is there a 12-5 that you see that you're like, okay, that feels like the one that's going to be the upset? I again, like all of this under the premise of when I look at this bracket, when I do the exercise and when I fill it out, I feel like this year feels more chalky to me than any year I can remember.
I got to read up on McNeese, Clemson. I'm not so sure. You've got Colorado State, Memphis. Does that feel right to you? Can I point to a 12-5?
Michigan should take care of UC San Diego.
That's true too.
Liberty should fall to Oregon. You would think Oregon would advance.
That might be the one.
Is that the one?
Is that the one?
Yeah, every year it feels like there's a 12-5, and maybe we're looking at the wrong the wrong pairing here. Maybe it is.
Maybe it's a 13-4.
A 13-4,
like,
you know?
Yeah.
Maybe it is a 14-3. Not to rain in your parade. Maybe it is Montana shocking Wisconsin out of the Big Ten. We'll see. It'll be a lot of fun. Always look forward to it. Always look forward to a nice upset. But it just, as I'm going through it, it just feels chalkier than ever. And a couple of nice stories, though. That North Carolina story is a good one. It wouldn't surprise me to see them beat Ole Miss in advance. Or find themselves in the Sweet 16.
Mm-hmm.
Gonzaga's got a Sweet 16 streak on the line. I want to say that they've made it for 9 consecutive seasons. Is that correct?
9 times.
They're kind of interesting to me, even though I know that Gonzaga burns us every year. But ultimately, for me, it's Duke. I said it before the brackets were like, we'll save you a lot of time. Just go ahead and pick Duke. And it sounds like a lot of people are just picking Duke.
So here's my question. And are we going to get a lot of Coach K during the tournament? Is he going to be sitting up in the stands? I hope not. Like you got to let. I honestly I don't know. Maybe somebody does.
He'll get some airtime. Yeah, I think he'll get some camera time. You know, a couple of pans of the shot to him, but it's funny how the game continues to like. Always have a thing where I say, you know, no one person is bigger than the team. No one name is bigger than the brand. And in college basketball, or if you're a program, I mean, yeah, your name might be on the court, but the brand lives on. The program lives on, and it will continue to be that. And eventually, Coach K will be a memory just like Dean Smith, just like Bobby Knight, just like any, you know, coach who did it at a high level for a long time. And you move on. And I got to imagine if you're Jim Boeheim, if you're Coach K, if you're Roy Williams, that it's a tougher thing to let go of. But, I mean, could they still be coaching today if they really wanted to? Probably.
Well, that's the storyline here, too. Like, people that tapped out, from Jay Wright to Tony Bennett to Boeheim. But you have some survivors.
It's kind of why I like
Tom Izzo.
Yeah, it's kind of why I like Izzo. It's kind of like why I like Patino. I like these guys that are really in it because it doesn't really matter. The NIL stuff
Bruce
doesn't really.
Pearl,
yeah,
you know, talking about.
Well, Bruce Pearl always seems to find a way to flame out. Let's see if this year is different. But this will be it'll be a lot of fun. So we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow afternoon for the start of the tournament. We'll be at Bill Gray's Tap Room in Chili Ave. From 3 until 6. We'll be joined by Dan Fates, talk some Buffalo Bills at 3:25, and St. John Fisher men's basketball coach Mike Grossadonia will stop by as well as he does every year for the tournament and spend some time with us in the sports bar.
If you're not familiar with the tap room, by the way, the restaurant is in the front facing Chili. The tap room is in the back, so they got a parking lot in the back. So there we go. Hope to see everybody there tomorrow.
The NFL has some rule proposals that are coming to light. A couple of note, one being the proposed ban of the tush push. This was not a surprise. We knew that Green Bay was opposing the tush push, and that Green Bay is going to bring this up at the owners' meetings. They need 24 yes votes to get their proposal.
Speaking today was Matt LaFleur. He got up and he presented the case.
Matt LaFleur was very angry at the NFL. He wants to propose that this goes away. He was beat up by the Philadelphia Eagles. He wants to sue the Philadelphia Eagles for punitive damages. He wants to sue Andy Reid. He wants to sue Howie Roseman.
What?
He wants to sue. He wants to sue Brian Westbrook. He's suing everybody because he was hurt very deeply. He was thrown down the stairs. His shoes fell off. His glasses broke. He fell on his ass pipe.
I didn't know Matt LaFleur wore glasses.
Yeah, he was very, very upset. Very upset that Philadelphia ran the ball down his defense's throat with their cute tush-push play. And he's suing everybody. It doesn't hit the same way. I'll do it because it's 2025.
It's 2025.
I'll do it because it's 2025. And
we don't want to offend people in Fairport.
No, but I gotta say, I don't feel like it hits the same way. But maybe it does. Maybe I'm wrong. So he's very upset. The Packers are very upset, and so they're making this proposal to the NFL.
They were very mean to me.
They were very mean to the Packers. Very mean, and his shoes fell off and his glasses broke. So they're suing everybody. That's one rule that's being proposed. The Lions proposed a couple of rule changes here. One in particular for the postseason that would change how teams are seeded and eliminate a division winner hosting a home playoff game or hosting a playoff game. I feel like the league in general believes that there should be some weight to winning your division, and to take away a home playoff game might not sit well with owners of teams who win their division. So I have a hard time believing that one will pass. I also think Detroit's proposal to eliminate the automatic first down for defensive holding and illegal contact penalties isn't going to pass. Their reason given for this proposal, quote, competitive equity. Current penalty enforcement is too punitive.
Their words.
For the defense.
Yeah, but we like offense.
That's
Sorry.
Right. It's the NFL.
Sorry.
It's a passing league. We like offense. We like points. We're not going to give the defense any kind of equal footing. No, I think that rule does not pass.
The overtime rule could. Of all these rules, no, not the two Detroit ones. And again, I'm not in favor. Win your division. Like for the Vikings last year, you had to go, ended up being Arizona. You had to go on the road because you didn't win your division. I'm sorry. A second-place team should not be hosting in the first round. Just my take on that. But overtime, extending that to 15 minutes, making sure both teams get a possession, making this like the playoffs essentially. Danger, the reason they got away from that is, well, particularly like, hey, this team here, they've got a game coming up Thursday. We need not to tax this team. They need to be fresh and ready to go. In the name of player safety, we're only going to make it 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, well, 10 minutes, you could have a long sustained drive in overtime over the course of 10 minutes. You could kick a field goal with time expiring after a 10-minute drive, and the opposing team never gets the ball. In fact, you kind of can see when a team wins the toss, they're going for that long sustained drive more than anything. They're trying to eat as much clock as they can and put that pressure on their opponent should they get the ball back. But a lot of times when you have that long sustained drive, you're not getting the ball back because they're scoring a touchdown. I actually like that. I like the overtime rules for the postseason, and I hope that they make that change. I miss the 15-minute overtimes. I know that player safety is a thing that they want us to believe matters to them, and maybe they can't do it because of the CBA. And you know, they're
ultimately though, what you're saying is you had a decided outcome, and hey, we didn't get the ball as much as. Don't let it get to overtime.
Right.
There were no ties in the league last year.
Right.
None. So this might not be the year to bring it up, but I appreciate them giving it a try.
We learned through various media outlets the Vikings are not pursuing Aaron Rodgers at this time.
Yeah, see, that's where this is dumb. Because every time J.J. McCarthy has a bad day at practice, or God forbid he actually has a preseason game, his second ever preseason game, and that one drive he didn't look that good. Well, welcome to Minneapolis Sports Radio. We'll take your calls here, folks. And are you concerned about J.J. McCarthy? Yeah, I think.
No, I'm not concerned. Oh, yeah, no, I'm concerned. No, yeah.
Oh, yeah, they should call Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
Why
no,
would
yeah,
they?
we get Rodgers in here.
We have
Yeah,
a
no.
mentor. He'd be a good. You don't need that referendum. You have to put the guy out there and say, this is our guy. We are confident. The end. No more conversation.
Same ownership that waited for Brett Favre in the 2009 season until August 18th. I love it when history repeats itself.
August 18th.
That's right. So if you're Aaron Rodgers, yeah, you're not getting considered by the Vikings at this time.
Well,
but let's talk about August 18th. Let's talk about the middle of August when OTAs are done and you've got your vacation underway and we're well into the throes of the preseason. Would you like to join us then? Let's have Schism 2, the sequel in Minnesota, where the first version was Favre versus Jackson, and now we've got JJ versus Rodgers. Let's go.
We got to pull up Favre's stats. Because my memory of Favre was he was much better in his final years. What we saw out of last year, you had your wide receivers. You had everything you wanted with the Jets. You looked old, dude. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know why? Because you are old, football-wise. 41? This is a mistake by Minnesota. But then again, do I really, it would be, the NFL would love this.
I want chaos. I'm rooting for it. I'm absolutely rooting for it.
Chaos too. Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin having dinner with Jalen Milroe. Okay, that would be a good plan there, but are the Steelers still in the mix here? Well, they're not saying they're not. So until that would be the best course of action if you're a Steeler fan. Okay, let's try this again. Jalen Milroe, come on down. You're a first-round pick.
Right. I still think for the Giants, though, Rodgers is the best chance for them because of their predicament, their scenario, their idea that they need to win now or they're going to be out on their ass. They need Aaron Rodgers to win them 8-9 games if he can with the Giants. So I love how everybody's giving off the perception of patience in the pursuit of Aaron Rodgers. We're going to be patient in Pittsburgh. We'll draft Jalen Milroe or J.J. McCarthy as our guy. Not hearing anything out of the Giants. They're just kind of waiting back and be like, okay, what's it going to take? Will you take this deal? Speaking of quarterbacks, the series will be back for 2025. Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, and Kirk Cousins makes his return to the Netflix series.
I wish they would have gotten somebody different because I saw enough of Cousins. Like, what would get me to tune in to see, okay, here's Kirk Cousins, and Burrow would be interesting, right? Because we all have our suspicions that the Bengals, even though they paid those two wide receivers, aren't run like other teams. They're a little bit cheap. The fact that you got to park a few blocks down and walk over to the practice facility, like, we're going to see that. Like, to me, that's the thing I want to watch. How buttoned up really are the Bengals, or how they aren't buttoned up, conversely. Jared Goff, we learned year one as a rookie, kind of a dummy. Jared Goff, who thought the sun actually rises in the east and sets in the west. I kid you not. You can look that up. But he's an NFL quarterback. And
Flip that. Rises in the west and sets in the east is what he thought, right?
Yes.
Okay. You said rises in the east, sets in the west, which is actually accurate.
That's accurate.
So, flip that. Yeah.
Okay, then I'm the dumb one here.
No. You misspoke. I didn't mean to correct you, but I didn't want people to think that you were Jared Goff.
I am Jared Goff, apparently.
Danger and Goff in the sports ball.
Yeah, the sun rises in the west, sets in the east.
Right.
Thank you.
Inaccurate. It actually sets in the west, Jared. Well, we'll see. It'll be interesting. The Kirk Cousins piece is actually interesting to me. What happens with Kirk Cousins? And I imagine if you're a team that is quarterback desperate and you're considering maybe potentially trading for the Falcons' backup quarterback, that this would be something you might, have a little extra stench on it. Like, do I want to bring in a quarterback that's going to have a camera crew following him around all season? I don't know. Maybe best you stay there in the ATL backing up Penix. We got to get to a round of shots. My goodness, we're running late.
Yeah, we are running late here, as we did have baseball this morning starting off. We got some news here about, remember how we were talking about the NHL schedule and they make a change? We got some news and notes about that for next season. We have some hot uniform talk coming out of Baseball Danger. And in a few weeks, the Masters, and hey, one more reason you actually should like Scotty Scheffler. We'll explain.
All right, we'll get to that and more next. A round of shots and last call on the way. You can have the final word in the sports bar when you call 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN.
The Fan, and turn those static noises into thrilling play-by-plays. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Tokyo Series complete as the Dodgers knock out the Cubs today. 6-3, Shohei Ohtani, his first home run of the season. Opening day stateside coming up next Thursday. Of course, tomorrow, Thursday, opening day of the NCAAs. Before we get to that, another night of playing games here, highlighted by Xavier in Texas. Sean Miller is the head coach of Xavier.
I think Rodney Terry and his team, they pride themselves on the defensive end, tough-minded defense. I think they do an outstanding job there. We respect the league they came from. We respect them a great deal. And I think for us, we have to play at our best to have an opportunity to beat them.
Big-time matchup tonight locally in lacrosse. St. John Fisher. Is this the year they get by RIT? The Tigers ranked third. We will have the coverage of Cardinal lacrosse beginning at 7. Gene Battaglia, sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The sports leader, 95.7 FM, and streaming online at thefanrochester.com and the Odyssey app. This is The Fan Rochester.
Happy hour continues in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia, glad you're with us. Thanks for watching along on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. Like, subscribe. You'll always know. Hit that little bell notification. You'll always know when we go live here on The Fan as well. Thanks for checking out us on Twitch as well, our stream on Twitch. Let's get to a round of shots, Gino.
The idea of the NHL schedule will begin earlier, mid-September. We were discussing that report from over the weekend. Basically, it worked like this. You peel off a few preseason games. You would bump the regular season from 82 to 84 games. Yeah, report today that plan is on hold for at least now. The report today out of Montreal says that the regular season is actually going to begin as it normally does. Tuesday, October 7th will be opening night, the upcoming season. Even though they're breaking for the Olympics, Gary Bettman says they did promise the All-Star game to the Islanders.
Sure.
So you have the Olympic break, and you will have an All-Star break next year, which means that can only mean we're playing until July, basically.
Yeah. Of course they're going to have an All-Star game. You not only promised it to the team, but there's so many corporate sponsorships that need to get their hand shaken. So we'll make sure we get that in, and we will worry about the break later. The Olympics will be fun. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm kind of glad that we're talking about starting the season at its normal time. If it goes into July, I'm actually okay with it. I know it's a shorter time off for the teams in the finals, but I kind of like that too, because I don't want to see the same teams in the finals every year. It's really, really hard when you play that much hockey to go back to the finals in back-to-back years. If Florida does it this year, good for them, but I just think that's a lot of extra hockey a lot of extra miles that you're putting on yourself.
As a Sabre fan, I can't even understand this.
Nobody understands anything of what we're saying right now. Foreign language.
USL is a league. The Rhinos and RNYFC, remember them? They participated in their final days.
That's not a thing anymore.
No, USL is very much a thing today.
No, yes, the Rhinos and RNYFC.
Right, whatever.
What happened to that guy, the footballer?
Jamie Vardy?
He's
a liar.
He's still playing, though.
Yeah.
He plays for Leicester City, I want to say.
Yeah, he got all the pub, and he didn't put a dime into it.
Nice. Thanks, bud.
Thanks.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. You remember Jamie Vardy? He's going to come on the show this week, and then, we'll make it next week. Yeah, we're going to work something out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Well, bringing this up today, Danger, the USL became the first league in North American sports history to adopt relegation. I'm sorry. Read it right, Gene. Relegation. The structure would have 3 divisions, being U.S. Division I, USL Championship, and USL League One. So follow that. Division I, Championship, League One. Now, does anyone want to bring us a team here in Rochester?
I actually really, really like this. This makes me very excited. Now, can we get a partnership with the USL and MLS that encourages relegation up from the USL and down from MLS? Now we're talking.
That's it. This is step 1 to getting to that process.
All right. Now we're talking. Now, if you have this, which is good, I think this is a step in the right direction. And then step 2 is you align with MLS and you have relegation in MLS. Now I think you could have a pro team in Rochester, because we love to buy hope, that would actually mean something. Even if you started at the lowest level, even if you had a franchise that was League One, if you went into League One and you won League One, or you were promoted from League One up to the championship level. That would be exciting. That would be something that I think we would all get behind, would we not?
I just hope somebody puts their hands up in the air, because I think it was a lot of political stuff behind the scenes, whatever the case may be. I do think we could support a team in this league. Our town could support a team, even if you're starting in the bottom division, whatever they call U.S. League One.
Yes, because like anything, there's hope. There's a chance. You're telling me that if they somehow find a way to align with MLS, that's exciting to me. I like what they're doing here with the USL. That's fun.
Yeah, and for folks who wonder, well, don't we have the Flower City Union? We do. That is a completely different outfit. That league is, it's an amateur league, basically. So maybe that would be a team that I would suggest maybe apply for an expansion
I would
franchise.
absolutely sign up for that. Get that done.
Yeah.
Be a part of that, because that feels like a step in the right direction for soccer in America as far as getting more fans excited about the game. MLS does great in the markets that it's in. But what about the smaller markets that can't sustain a team? Will get us something to get excited about, and the prospect of moving up in rank in league from year to year to year because you outperform the other teams. That's exciting. That would be a lot of fun.
Danger, you know this. True crime, a big genre in the podcast world. And from the Super Bowl, a reporter from Kansas City wound up dead in his hotel room. Ooh.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Yeah, Adam Mazzano worked for Telemundo Kansas City, found dead the Wednesday before the big game. He was only 27. Today, we have someone who's been charged. Danette Colbert, charged with murder. She was seen leaving the hotel room, also using his credit card at multiple stores.
Oops.
Here's the problem. The case itself has yet to be ruled a homicide. So apparently, in Louisiana, you still could charge somebody with murder, even though, I digress. It seems a little off here. The exact cause of death, also not clear. Mazzano was 3 times the legal limit in alcohol. Xanax was also involved. Ultimately, Danger, this could be just ruled an accidental overdose.
Sound like a fun party. Terrible. And down in New Orleans, man, the rules are. Yeah, I was on a call in New Orleans today, and they were talking about event that they're doing around Jazz Fest, and they're giving out free beer. I'm like, free beer? What? You just give out free beer at this? Like,
what?
Sign me up. How do I get to New Orleans? It's a different world down there, man. And you hear this is an unfortunate story, a tragic story, but at the same time, it's like, doesn't really surprise me. Made a couple of bad choices in one night, and this is what happens.
Mike Danger, can I get a verdict on these hot uniforms in a sports bar? Hot uniform talk.
Let's set the mood.
The Houston Astros have a new version of their City Connect uniforms. The navy blue are gone. These new ones, white all the way through with orange and blue trim. The shooting star, reminiscent of the Killer Bees era, with the word Stros written. The hats are navy with a white panel in front.
You showed me these, and I've seen some really, really hideous City Connect uniforms. I think the Padres City Connect uniforms might be the worst in all of sport.
I get it, because it's the zoo and the flamingos and the bright colors. That is. I hate your Wrigleyville ones.
I don't like those either.
No,
these aren't bad. I think these are okay. They look clean. I like that it says Stros. They look modern. I think these are okay. These pass the eye test to me.
Finally, we're only a few weeks away from the Masters.
Yes.
And one of the many traditions of the Masters is the previous year's winner gets to pick out the menu for the Champions Dinner. And, of course, that winner, Scotty Scheffler, he went all full yummy phase here.
Well, we got grape soda, fruit roll-ups. What are we talking about?
Okay, so your appetizers, cheeseburger sliders, ravioli shrimp. It gets better. Course 1, Texas-style chili.
Like that?
That's chili with jalapenos.
Yep.
Main course, wood-fired cowboy ribeye or blackened ribfish. Dessert, a warm chocolate rib skillet cookie. Is Scheffler with the Texas-style chili and the sliders, is he going to watch his competitors actually have the gastro problems?
Sounds
here?
delicious. Give me the Texas-style chili to start, and I will absolutely do that wood-fired cowboy ribeye with the bone in. Man, that is good stuff. I don't like Scotty Scheffler. He's boring, in my opinion. He's one of the best golfers, if not the best golfer in the world. That menu is pretty strong. That's a strong menu for the Masters. They don't see it coming. Texas-style menu. Good stuff. Great show today. Lots of fun. Tomorrow, we are live from Bill Gray's Chili Ave. The tap room at Bill Gray's on Chili Ave for day one of the tournament. Looking forward to seeing you there. We'll start the action at 3 o'clock. JR Sport Brief next on the Fan Rochester. Have a great night.
You're listening to